Alrighty, I didn't want to play the whole intro today, guys. I just wanted to give you guys a moment to get in here. Please share the stream if you haven't already. And I want to welcome my guest today is Johnnie Walker Dread. Say hi, Johnny.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hello, everybody. We are trying to get through.
Hey, am I coming in loud and clear?
Yeah, you sound fine to me.
Good deal.
So I actually got the inspiration to do this stream. Aside from the fact that, hey, everybody, super chats are now enabled. So if you want to use them, we'll answer them. Anyway, it was also just because I saw this series of videos that were being shared on Twitter, and they were just downright crazy. Unfortunately, Strategic Eyes is driving, but he's listening to us. Hello out there, Strategic. If for some reason you get home while we're on, I'd be happy to bring you on to this particular conversation. So, Johnny, why don't you take a second and tell anybody who's listening who may not be familiar with you what you're about.
Well, I'm Johnnie Walker Dread. I have my own channel, the Johnnie Walker Dread Show on YouTube. And primarily I focus a lot on, let's say, the involvement of race in crime. So in other words, you have a shooting, and of course the arguments come in. What if he was black? What if he was white? That seems to be a topic that I have a lot of interest in. And of course, there's Kyle Rittenhouse. I've done 300 videos on Kyle, and lately been focusing a lot on the whole Patrick Lyoya shooting and things like that. But pretty much any event where people are claiming that race is a factor is something that seems to catch my attention. So again, the Johnnie Walker Dread Show, go to my YouTube channel and check out. I have like 600 videos right now.
That's actually how I met you, was because of our connections through the Kyle Rittenhouse coverage, and it's been great being able to talk to you and keep track of what you've been doing. So I think you and Strategic Eyes would also do great together. One of these days, you guys need to get on each other's shows, expose each other to each other's audiences. I think you guys would like each other.
Yeah, we've talked actually about getting the show together, but just hasn't happened yet. I was like a week ago, and I just haven't had the time. But
right, especially because you like to talk about shootings, and he likes to talk about that a lot too. So
yeah. And one of the things my specialties is to show that while you might think that this only happens to people of color, it happens to everybody. And I have plenty of video clips to show that these events, the shootings, and basically any of this of kind of terrible things that happen to people, it happens to everybody. It's right. It's not race based.
So I just saw Bernewski is in the chat. Bernewski, if you'd like to come on with us, you're totally welcome to do so. I'm just kind of putting together a panel. So if you want to come on, just message me on Twitter, and then I'll send you the StreamYard link, and then we'll get started.
By the way, I should mention, I tried to get Bernewski on my show a couple of times, but I could not find his contact information.
Right.
So if you have my email, Bernewski, send it to me, because next time I have a show, I'd love to have you on.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, seriously, Bernewski, let me know if you want to come on. Oh, you're banned for the Twitter. All right, well, is there another way I can send it to you? There's got to be another way I can send you the StreamYard.
How did he get banned from Twitter?
He'll be unbanned soon enough. You're probably not on Facebook, but either way. Bernewski, are you on my Discord? I can send it to you there. Well, anyway, if you're set up, let me know. If nothing else, I'll just drop it in here. It's not like I have to add everybody, but so let me know. It would just be good to have you. I think you're going to like the content we're discussing tonight, but you made a meme of an anti-gun kid in a Nazi uniform. You're so naughty. All right. So the conversation today was kind of spurred by, as I said, there were some, spurred by these videos that Myth-Informed MKE were sharing on Twitter. And it was a series of really bad dramatizations depicting the world as if it was far more racist than it actually is. And it seems lately, especially there's been an awful lot of content, for example, they don't have enough in England. So they're making some kind of made-for-TV movie in England to bring up this really bad racist incident that happened a really long time ago. And then I also, like, I watched the Watchmen TV show, and they began the story literally with the Tulsa Race Massacre. Like, they have to find every chance they can to bring these things into the common consciousness as if they're relevant. And it's not to say that we shouldn't learn about those things. I'm not against that. It's just that they're really peppering our consciousness with this stuff. Like, they needed to be in the forefront of everyone's mind that these things happened a really long time ago. And more importantly, almost like we kind of need to act like they didn't happen all that long ago after all. It has been a long time. But the point is that they, in order to succeed in their mission, they really need the consciousness to have more racism than is actually accounted for, which is the same reason why, we talked about Jussie Smollett the last time I had you on. The whole reason that what he did, it worked. And then, like, you get people like that lady who made Everything's Gonna Be All White, because she's on that show The Real, which is like a cheap knockoff version of The View. And she was like, it was low-key noble that he engaged in a race hoax, hate race hoax. So the idea that that's low-key noble is obviously absurd on its face. But in addition to the fact that the notion that it's okay to engage in that sort of thing, and what was her explanation? She said, well, because real, hate crimes do happen, it should, he shouldn't have to go to jail for making one up, and I think that it seems to me that there's a lot of motives for this. Some of them, I think, are just people who literally have the motive that they want us to be divided. Like, there's definitely somebody who seems to have a vested interest in that. But then there's also the grift. Like, people like Ibram X. Kendi would have to go get a real job if racism was actually solved. But go ahead and comment on what I've said so far, and then I'll start looking for these videos.
Well, in your last comment, think about, and I've mentioned this on my show many times, you have large numbers of people getting law degrees that are focusing on social justice issues. There are not enough cases to go around.
Right.
So what do? Well, getting on shows and crying about, any kind of event, trying to paint it as a race-based event is their only way of making themselves relevant. Because, and everybody has this envision of, well, if I get a law degree, I'll go become a lawyer and I'll make $200,000 a year. Doesn't work like that. There's only so many clients to go around. And another thing is, your client base typically doesn't have a lot of money. So what are you going to do? If you want to be a social justice lawyer and work and actually go and work for people, you're probably not going to make much. So the big money is what? Stirring the pot and, getting on these shows like Court TV and broadcasting your wisdom. And it's a serious problem. And because so many people want to get Juris Doctorates now because they want to be the next, fighter for truth and the real, they've had to lower their standards. And now getting a Juris Doctorate is nothing like it used to be. It's almost approaching the educational doctorate in this low rigor. Truly incredible. Some of the people getting these Juris Doctorates are pretty amazingly dim.
So I would agree with you, and I think that there's going to be a lot of kids that think that what they're getting into is in some way going to be helping people, and it's really I think they're going to find out that they're going to be really disappointed with what they what they run into. But there will be a motive for people that, I'd be worried that they'll start ambulance chasing, more or less, if you get my meaning, that they're going to go look for anybody that they can kind of talk into taking such a case. Strategic Eyes says, even though he literally spit in every real victim of hate crimes' face and made everyone who suffers from a hate crime harder to come forward, because moving forward they will be viewed skeptically. That's in reference to Jussie Smollett. And also, if you guys haven't checked out the Strategic Eyes show, he's in one of my featured channels here on my channel, and he does fantastic content. So, all right, moving right along, I'm going to go ahead and, unless you had something else, I'm going to go ahead and play these videos. So these videos are just downright weird. But not only is the acting bad, but it's just the depictions here that, like as Myth-Informed Mike says, this wins the award for most woke activism. Generation Hope markets these inspiring videos to change makers like the diversity, equity, and inclusion departments. They believe it's still 1840. I originally got this actually from Paul Rossi. He's the math teacher that I brought on who blew the whistle on critical race theory kind of being pumped into the school system he was working in. So let's go ahead and take a look at this madness. Go ahead and make sure this is turned up.
Those monkeys are back at it again. I'll teach them a lesson they won't forget.
Dramatic music.
Hey! What did I tell you criminals about coming back to my neighborhood?
Oh no, Roy, let's just get out of here.
No, Vince. I won't let her ruin our fun. Listen, lady, we aren't breaking any laws by having fun here at the park. I won't let you intimidate us anymore.
Are you talking back to me, boy? I guess you forgot who used to own your kind, and I'm about to remind you of that right now.
Ow! Ah, that hurts! Ah, Vince, help! Ah!
Don't you touch him or I will knock your teeth out.
Roy, hang on. I'll get some help.
Oh, look.
God.
You disabled, crippled piece of trash. No one's coming for you. You're not worth it. You and your kind, you are worthless. Now, it's been what, 180 years since slavery was abolished? And I'm going to give you a lash for every year that God-given right was taken away from me.
I don't care.
What?
You can try and hurt me, but you won't break my spirit. My mom told me not to be afraid of evil people like you.
And where's your mama now, huh? It's just you and me. So let's have a little fun.
His mama is right here. Nobody messes with my boy like that, lady. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Vince, call the cops and tell them that there's a lunatic at the park going around whipping people.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
it's so bad you don't even know where to begin. I mean, is this like, are they trying to make a claim like this happens every day?
Yes. And I want to be clear for my audience. I am not laughing at the notion of a woman with a whip in the park talking like it's still 1840. Like she's the villain in an episode of Roots or something.
It comes off as an
Oh my God.
SNL parody. I mean, when you watch it, you think, okay, where's the gag coming? When's it coming? You know, you're expecting like this, like punchline to come along, and you find out, oh, it was just a joke.
Oh my God. I just can't. Oh my God. All right. So I'm gonna share because we're gonna get strategic in here audio.
By the way, one comment I would like to make is that
No, you make any comment you want now because I got to do this. So go ahead.
they couldn't find an actress that didn't look less woke than her. I mean, if you're going to cast somebody in that role, find somebody that looks like they actually might be kind of racist. This lady looked like she walked right out of, you know, a San Francisco Haight-Ashbury meeting.
Right.
It's like, good grief.
I just can't believe.
I mean,
She
I don't
brings a
know.
whip to the park.
Yeah, it's by the way, 180 lashes would be pretty rough.
Yeah.
You ain't surviving that.
Okay. Strategic. I guess I'm going to send this to you on Discord because it looks like I can't send you a message on Twitter for some reason. 1 second.
So let me ask the audience, what was the point of this? I mean, nobody on the left is even buying this one. I mean, they have to be just like, okay, you know, there's racism, yeah, but yeah, this is really a cartoonish depiction of it.
It's like if you translated it to some kind of Disney villain or something. I mean, it's so cheesy. Like that, it's just so bad. And like there's more too. Like there's more of these videos. So one of the reasons I'm glad Strategic is coming on is because one of them has 2 cops in it. And
The pro-gun lobby could use this one. Like, well, maybe the guy in the wheelchair needs a gun to protect himself from these evil people walking around whipping them.
But and like it would ever go down like that too. That's another thing. So like, you think the guy's just gonna sit there and let him do that? No, that guy would have ran right up to that girl and taken that whip, or at least tried to do something. Nobody would just sit there and let them whip some guy in a wheelchair, and then like the mom shows up, and of course she looks like Patrice Cullors. She's got to go up, and grab her. It's like, call the police, and you tell them there's somebody out here whipping people. Like that's what she would do. No, she'd have ghetto stomped that woman. And the thing is, if I encountered a woman like that, I'd ghetto stomp them too. It's just that people like that don't really exist anymore. Like that's just crazy. I mean, and if they did, it's just, oh my God. All right, so let me bring Strategic in here. Yo, Strategic, what's up, brother?
What's happening, man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. What's up, Mr. Dredd?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Love your show. I hope you've seen some of my comments, man. I really like your coverage on the Patrick Loyola case. And much respect to the effort you put into showing the dichotomy between the Patrick Loyola case and that other shooting that happened down south with the deputies. That was deep, man. That was real deep.
But here's the funny part: you can't think of the victim in his name.
Can't even think about his name.
Lawrence is part of the name, but I think is it David Lawrence?
I'm not sure.
I don't know the guy's name.
No, because his life doesn't matter.
Yeah, he just got blown away in a shooting that, in my opinion, is worse. I mean, yeah, totally unavoidable. I mean, the guy was just trying to drop off a dog. Yeah, I know, but that's the way it is.
Well, I got a different perspective on this video. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. We'd like to hear it.
Yeah, I got a different perspective on this video because, when this video came out, I was tracking it, and it wasn't getting a lot of love. Everybody was roundly clowning it, like both the left and the right. But the problem that I have this video and a lot of videos of
oh man, he's cutting in and out.
YouTube creators. Oh man, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're just it's just like the connection.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm driving right now. Yeah, so like these videos are produced by Indian companies and Indian content creators. And the reason why it's so problematic for me is because people around the world are looking at the strife that we have, the racial strife and all the manufactured hatred that the media is throwing on each other, on us against each other, that they're looking at us and they're trying to make a profit over our discourse. So here's an Indian, so you see the writing and all that stuff, this is Indian people who are writing this, and they get American actors, and actors will take a check to do anything, you know what I mean? So this lady, she'll take that check. But they're looking at us, and the discourse that we're having is so ridiculous that they actually think producing trash like this will give them, viral attention and boatloads of money. And that's sad. For the most part, most people who looked at this said, this is trash. Black people, white people, everyone's like, yo, this is trash. But the fact that they think and they thought that they could get away with it is the problem. And that's because what we're sending over to them when they watch our news, when they watch our commentary, when they listen to MSNBC and they listen to people like Joy Reid, they think that this will fly because those people act like this will fly. And that's what's so disgusting about this video to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go.
No, go ahead, Neil.
It's first of all, I wanted to say, Bernewski, I sent you the email link. Looks like you're coming up now.
By the way, I'm getting kind of an echo. I think somebody needs to mute their mic.
It's probably Strategic in his car. There you go.
Okay, hey, Strategic, can you mute for just a moment?
Yeah, we got him. And then, all right, so Bernewski, you are now live from your porch.
How's it going, gentlemen? I just want to apologize in case my mic is too loud. That's always a problem with me in these video streams, so sorry to the audience.
You actually sound good.
No, you sound fine.
I agree, I do sound good.
Watching that inspired you to want to come on, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I have a bit of a different take from all you guys. In what crazy town, upside down world are two 20-something fit black guys just gonna sit there while a 120-pound white woman tries to whip them? Like that is utterly ridiculous.
I said something to that effect. Oh, I got my first ever super chat ever. The very first super chat on V Radio.
I'm jealous.
From Lucifer the Doberman. $2. 3 of my favorite commentators, and now 4.
You know what? I should have been like some sort of like SJW actor or something, because if you look at me, I think I'd fit all of their little videos like this. They could make me into a star.
Well, that's, yeah, somebody said that they wanted to do one in reverse where like basically like they roll up and like the guys shoot at them and then they say, okay, we're sorry, and then drive away. Like as in that would be the spoof, would just be to make something so ridiculous. But I'm not like relating it perfectly well. But so anyway, Strategic, anytime you want to say something, feel free to unmute and we'll all just shut up and let you muscle in. So oh wait,
got you, buddy, got you.
Super chat number 2 in the history of V Radio comes from Scarlock. Hey, you got super chats now. Congrats. Yay. Yep, the inaugural super chat panel. That's what I'd like to do. Is in the old days of V Radio, I used to get panels, like 5 or 6 people to discuss current events. And I think that would help because I've done a lot of content lately, but it's been really, the content that I've done has been heavy research content, and that can burn you out. It's good though, and I'm glad that I do it, but holy crap. So anyway, I wanted to play. Go ahead, everybody comment. Did you need to say something else, Strategic? I saw you on mute.
No, I was going to say that there's a dirty rumor going around that you have super chats now because you sold out to the mainstream media. Is this true?
You know, it's funny. I was telling Johnny this before we went on the air. I don't even know how it happened because they monetized me again without me doing anything to make that happen. And then all of a sudden I got super chats. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to fight it. You know,
just that fan mail you sent to Joe Biden.
What was that, Johnny?
Maybe it was that fan mail you sent to Joe Biden.
Well, I haven't sent him any fan mail, but yeah,
just
no.
Be on the lookout for the Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz rummaging through your trash cans.
But that's the thing that's messed up. I didn't do anything different. And I'm not going to. And if they may take them away again, and if they do, whatever. But you know, it's cool. You know, in the meantime, you know, it gives us an opportunity. You know, I kind of like try to engage with the audience, whether they pay me to or not. But some people literally put super chats in like the description of their shows, and like, hey, come pay me to talk to me. And I do obviously appreciate any support you guys can give me because things are pretty rough right now. I had to pay to repair my car yet again. Thankfully enough, I got out without it costing as much as some of the other stuff. But all right, does anybody have any further comments on the video that we've just watched before I get to the next part?
Okay, so I have one.
Go ahead.
If I'm the NRA, the dude in the wheelchair pulls off that little shawl he's got around him, points a gun and says, "Now you just simmer down, lady." And then, of course, you'll have the byline that says, Second Amendment, gun rights are for everyone. You know, there you go.
All right, folks. Okay, moving on. So these only get worse. I mean, well, I wouldn't say they get pretty bad. Like this is this studio has some gems in production. Like these are actors and performers that they're looking for right now. A practicing Muslim woman that mostly keeps to herself and minds her own business. She is kind, genuinely empathetic, and charming. Ethnicity, Middle Eastern. And then Yusef is the supporting, romantic interest, the typical charming neighbor that generally has a good, kind heart and looks out for people. You know, who are the other characters in this future story? Randy, a blatantly racist psychopath stalker. He uses every opportunity he can to let the world know who he is, but also takes great lengths to try and hide some darker parts of himself. White, European, ancestry, of course. And then supporting male, he's the friendly building janitor, and he talks to everyone and loved everyone due to his kind and charming nature. Ethnicity can be any ethnicity. So there's like these characters that are talking about here, like this Randy guy. Like again, like this is like what, 1 out of 1,000? I mean, like society doesn't produce people like this anymore. I mean, am I wrong? Like, I mean, does anybody else run into these blatantly racist, psychopath stalker types? I mean, I don't know. What about you, Strategic? You're a police officer. How many blatantly racist psychopath stalkers do you run into on the job?
Wow. I mean, to be all honest, I've definitely experienced some racist, crazy people in my life. But as a police officer, I've only arrested African Americans, unfortunately, for hate crimes. One was against an Asian person. The other one was against an elderly white woman. You know, so the answer would be none professionally. But racism is, you know, one thing I say on my show is that anybody's capable of racism. It's not just something that only a white person can do. Black people can do it too, you know, and it's unfortunate. Can you guys hear me?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I heard you. We were just listening. So what I wanted to comment on is that it seems like for example, when we talk about January 6th, we need to create this narrative that supposedly it was an entire crowd full of white supremacist types, like as if they were all like the Charlottesville types who were walking around saying Jews won't replace us. When the truth is it was a diverse crowd of people. Like on the video I did, countering everything's going to be all white, was specifically about the whitewashing of January 6th. They really, really have a need for these characters to exist in the consciousness of people. And that's one of the reasons why I looked at that script and I was like, what are they talking about? Before I go any further, does anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just want to follow up and just agree with you. Like when I looked at January 6th, you know, I saw people who were exercising their right to have redress against their country, their government. Now, I drew the line when people were going into the Capitol building and assaulting officers, etc. You know, of course, That's personal to me because I'm an officer, you know, but, you know, so those people should be dealt with, and they're being dealt with. They're being dealt with more than the people who are burning down cities in Kenosha and New York and Chicago and St. Louis and all across this country during the what do they call it? The George Floyd spring or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But certainly there was nothing wrong with what those folks were doing. The people who are on the lawn saying, hey, I don't believe in this election. You know, it is what it is. And I just found that disgusting that once again, the mainstream media was using it as a tool to divide us. But then we didn't see that same energy when people were out there destroying cities and murdering children.
Right. No, exactly. And that was the thing. I don't want to claim, like, for example, for a moment that I think that what was going on January 6th was okay. But it was a diverse crowd. Like there's some video you can watch of some of them. Like there were crowd members. First of all, there was the crowd that protected that cop that they pulled out of the tunnel. And when people tried to hit him, they got in the way. We're like, no, leave him alone. He's a police officer. And then there's another one where they're trying to break into a window, and like the crowd tries to stop them. It just, the thing is there wasn't really a unified hive mind going on, and it was a really freaking large group of people. And that's, I think, part of the reason why, you know, in addition to the diversity, my major point was just to say they really need that to have been a white supremacist event, because they've been building up this white supremacist boogeyman. And the truth is like as I showed in my video, like the Blacks for Trump were present. You know, I mentioned that tunnel fight. There's a moment where a black Trump supporter gets knocked unconscious by the police, and the people near him very carefully take him to safety, you know, away from the police. It's like, if this was a white supremacist crowd, they'd have just stomped on the guy and walked over them to continue to doing whatever they were doing. You know, that's what I'm getting, is that they really needed that event to be something as ridiculous as the video that we just watched. You know, and so let me go ahead and go down the line of the people who haven't talked much. Johnny, do you got anything?
No, the January 6th event hasn't really captured much of my interest.
Right.
So I don't have any real commentary on that.
Okay. Berdusky, anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, strategic guys, respectfully, I would really disagree with you that, especially as how the media portrayed January 6th versus the protests over that summer. The media really used the January 6th thing. Like, I think they were completely consistent. They used the January 6th thing to, like, you know, smear right wingers, and they used the BLM riots to smear right wingers. So no real inconsistency there. I thought they were remarkably consistent compared to normal.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it wasn't clear what I was saying.
I'm messing with you. I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm driving, so it's hard to pay attention at the same time. Sorry.
No problem. They were consistently awful.
Yeah, that would definitely be the case. So, all right, moving along. I'll come down here. This is like the last part of that video. But like, listen to the dialogue here.
Vince showed them the video evidence of Mallory whipping Roy. Mallory was
I'm
arrested.
gonna start it over now that I got it turned up.
Vince showed them the video evidence of Mallory whipping Roy. Mallory was arrested and sent to jail for her crimes. However, Roy and Vince continued to enjoy playing basketball without anyone bothering them again.
It's important to treat everyone with respect and kindness. It's okay to stand up for yourself when someone treats you bad, even if it's scary.
Because when you stand up for yourself, you'll be able to stand up for others that are also in need. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on courage. Make sure to share this with your friends and family so they can also learn this message on courage.
Like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. And remember, here at Generation Hope, we're trying to make the world a better place, one story at a time.
Vince showed them the video evidence of Mallory whipping Roy.
There we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we pause it right there so we can see the height difference between this little 120-pound white woman and the 20-year-old guy who she was allegedly threatening there, or who was afraid of her?
She had one of those assault whips. I mean, she could have disabled him with one swipe.
Right.
I mean, what would it have done? It would have hurt him a little, but it would not have stopped him if he really wanted to stop her, a new mud hole in her.
No, for sure. Ridiculous. And instead, he had no mind to do that. He ran and, of all things, called the police. Somebody pointed that out earlier in the chat. It was like, well, there is definitely something weird about this because, the police showed up and did exactly what needed to be done, and then there was no twist on it. So that part of it is interesting. But so Strategic, have you ever had to respond to any calls of any random white people with whips hitting people at basketball courts, or?
Nah, but I will share with you a story that actually happened to me. I'm all about educating people and just trying to find a nuance in life. So it was very similar to this, and I told the story on my show before. I was 17 years old, and I've always been to park to do the horse and carriage ride on a double date. And I went to the guy and I'm like, hey, sir, how much for the horse and carriage ride? And the guy looks at me and says, what do you want, you effing N-word? Get the hell out of my face, you effing N-word. What do you want to do? You want to rob me? You want my jacket, huh? You piece of crap, effing N-word and all that bull crap. And I lie to you not. I cried. Big guy. I'm 6'2". I'm a big guy. I'm a beast on these streets, but I cried because I never experienced that type of hate before. So when I hear you guys say, well, these big guys, blah, 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 I hear you. You make sense. It's a bullshit ass story. This is a race bait bullshit story. But sometimes when you're confronted by extreme hate, you're powerless to it. It's like, I could punch this guy in the face, but it's still not going to take away the pain of what he just said to me, what he just did to me. So you just get frozen, So I just want to educate you guys. I'm not trying to be the dissenter. I'm not, the woke guy. No, this is bullshit. I'm with you guys 100%. But hey, you got a black guy on the panel with you, so I'm gonna give you my experience. I'm gonna try and get you to look at it from a different perspective.
No, I agree with that. That's not the problem at all. And I honestly, I almost wish I would come across somebody calling one of my friends the N-word specifically so I could punch them out. But it's just when they dramatize it in this way, because they're trying to act as if this sort of thing is a reflection of the state of the world, that's where the problems come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say this stuff is not real. This is the race bait and bull crap that's destroying our country. White folks, like I say on my channel all the time, white folks don't walk around thinking about how they're going to destroy black people or make their lives more difficult. We're in difficult times. Our economics is all twisted. Our government doesn't work. White people are worrying about the same thing everybody's worrying about. How do I feed my family? How do I keep my job from going to China? That's what people are worrying about who's white, okay? And all this stuff is just manufactured so that the powers that be can stay in power. Every time that there's an election, they got to let us know that the cops are just hunting us down and, a black man can't get a job. Black man can't come from the hood like me and end up being a landlord and live in a big old house, and my wife just graduated yesterday from nurse practitioner school. And she came from nothing. You could be anything in this fucking country. Excuse me, I cursed on your channel. I'm sorry.
No, you can do that. You can do that on my channel.
Yeah.
Fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You can be anything in this country, man. There's nobody holding you down. In fact, 95% of the time when I have experienced adversity in a workplace, when I was denied a promotion that I deserved, it was from a minority like me. It was a white guy that made me a senior investigator when I worked for state corrections. And it was a Dominican guy that denied me the position that had paid me $140,000 a year, which made me say, screw this job and go become a police officer. And then I come to be a police officer in a mostly white department, and they put me in very interesting positions, maybe a community officer. I had a whole bunch of white people. So, I mean, come on, man. Like, this is all bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm going crazy. Let me go back on mute.
Did anybody else have anything more about that before I play the next video?
Well, my comment on that would be is that, I did a lot of work with public schools for a long time, and there was the teachers who pushed this sort of narrative as well. And my thinking was, and when I say thinking, I mean, I didn't dare say this because I was a contractor. You just don't say certain things. But my thinking was that this is what these kids really need to hear, is that there's no hope. The world's against you. Everybody's racist. You can't get a job. Yeah, that's what they need to hear when they're 14 or 15 years old, going out into the world. Why even try if that's the way the world really is? But it's not. And as he said, there's plenty of examples where if you just try, put your stuff together, don't go and do crimes, that's kind of helpful. Don't do drugs, stay off that crap. If you just put your target down towards a good life, you can be a success. It doesn't matter what color you are.
Bernowski?
Yeah, I would comment on the racialization of our society it's interesting because you see it in the media and you kind of wonder if that's having an effect in the real world around you. And I have to say, I've kind of noticed it in small ways. Like I used to work with kids, high school age kids, left for a couple of years to go do something to make more money. I'm back doing that now, and I've noticed there's a different tenor in the way that kids talk to each other. Like a lot of the humor, a lot of what they joke around about and just talk about is very racialized now. And it's a weird thing because I remember growing up, and even when I was in this job before, it just wasn't something that we talked about because it's not something that mattered to us. So I've kind of noticed a difference now, with the kids that I see come through my business now, where there's a lot of this talk, and I'm not saying that they're more racist or anything like that, but they're so much more conscious of race than they ever were before, and it's talked about constantly, and it's very interesting to see that changing amongst our youth. And I have to imagine they're partially getting it from media and partially probably getting it from their parents and schools because of everything that's going on in the world.
Well, go ahead.
No, I just think it's really interesting to see the difference in just a couple of years and how kids talk now.
One of the cornerstones of critical race theory is race consciousness. Not as in I got that off Fox or whatever, as in literally I'm reading the documents and Kimberly Crenshaw brings it up. There's literally a whole book on critical race theory about race consciousness. And the idea is that you should make everybody hyper aware of race in absolutely every interaction, and that they think that that's necessary. And it's also, they openly call out and claim that is the correct answer, not the answer of simply becoming colorblind and just treating everybody the same. That actually is not a good reaction. And if anything, it's actually somehow racist to be colorblind. It twists the whole thing on its head. So that's why you're running into race consciousness, because they literally believe that you have to have it in order for them to bring about the world that they want. And that comes about from us all treating each other as according to our race rather than just treating each other as people. And that's one of the reasons why it would drive me nuts, because I grew up in a diverse environment, and my kid's boxing gym was extraordinarily diverse, every single race represented. We even had a Palestinian and a Jew. I mean, that's how diverse we were. I mean, Black, Hispanic, Asian, everybody. And then if I had just gotten off the air, after arguing with people who do this stuff, and then I walked into my boxing gym, it's like it infects your mind. And now all of a sudden, I'm not saying, hi, Eric, who just happens to be Black and is my kid's boxing coach. I'm thinking, oh, Eric's Black. when I would have never even thought about that. You know, like that wouldn't even have crossed my mind, wasn't relevant to me, short of like if I, you know, like appearance, it doesn't mean anything. I thought that was supposed to be mission accomplished. I thought that was supposed to mean that we were accomplishing something. But instead, you know, if I'm not raising my kids also to be hyper aware of all of it, and I handled racism with them by raising them in that environment. They've been boxing since like my son was 6. My daughter was, I think, 8 when she started, you know, and so they were always around incredibly diverse people. And then when the time finally came to talk to them about racism, they're like, well, that's just ridiculous. Who does that? You know, because the concept of treating their friends differently based on their skin color was preposterous to them.
Yeah. And I would also say, like, strategic guys, just commenting on like what you went through, like at that park, like the idea behind like what we were supposed to be moving to as a society is that was supposed to be like an aberration. Like that was never something that, you know, it happens, but happens so incredibly rarely that when it does, it's like, it's shocking. And it was obviously shocking to you at the time. But nowadays, it just seems like we're blasted over and over and over again with every single thing being like racist, and the sort of stuff that we're seeing on these videos here, it's making it out like this sort of nonsense happens like all the time. And I don't know if that was their intention. I mean, I don't want to speculate because I didn't see the start of this video stream that we're going through, but it just seems like we kind of lost the idea of race not mattering, like when it comes to judging individuals, to it being like the first thing that's noticed. And that's something that I'm not really comfortable with, because it's not what I grew up on either.
Strategic, did you want to comment on that, and then I'll get you in next, Johnny?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with Bermuski it is says.
Yes.
I mean, and I agree that it is an aberration, because, you know, I can tell you 2 or 3 of those stories, but I've been alive for, you know, almost 40 years. And none of the people who have ever done something that I could construe as racism ever had the power to stop me from being successful. They were usually people on the fringe, like the guy who was basically, I don't know what you call the guys who were actually driving the freaking walking car, horse and carriage thing. That guy, he didn't have any power to do anything to me. Yeah, he was probably making like $200 a week or something like that. The bottom line is that I agree 1,000%, and I think that the reason why we see this happening, where they're throwing race in our purview so often, and they're trying to relate everything to race, is because they're using it as a tool to control us. And specifically, they want to demonize the Republican Party, a party that I am not a part of and rarely ever agree with. But I don't have to agree with you to know that you're being victimized. They're trying to demonize the Republican Party and galvanize Black people to vote for nothing but the Democratic Party, a party that does less for them than the Republican Party. And why do they do less for them than the Republican Party? Because they make promises that they don't keep. At least Republicans don't make promises to you. The Democratic Party makes promises to Black folks that they never keep. And yet Black people keep voting for them. And I don't get that, but they're using race as a weapon to scare them from either being independent or Republican or starting their own problem that I have. But I definitely agree with you, Burmese.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I'm actually interested to see, because I think that because of that, because Black people that such high percentages do vote Democrat in most elections, I'm interested to see what Democrats do to handle the fact that Hispanics are moving more towards Republicans, because the way I look at it, Democrats have never actually had to do anything for Black people because they know they've got that vote locked up. They don't have to do anything. Now that Hispanics are going in a different direction, I wonder if they actually will start making promises and actually keeping them to Hispanic voters. Like, that's going to be interesting to see in the next 5 to 10 years, I think.
Let me get Johnny back in here now to traffic cop. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're using Rommel's strategy, and that is, in the desert, it's very difficult to, build up fortifications. And so Rommel learned that if you can get the enemy backpedaling, retreating, you keep the pressure going. You don't give them time to be able to dig any trenches. And that's how he's able to push the British so far in so little time. So their strategy is get you on the defensive. As soon as you have to say, well, that's not what I meant, and you know, I'm sorry, did I offend you? You're dead. That's what they want, and that's the reason why they throw the race card out all the time so frequently. Is just to get you to deny it, and now they've got you backpedaling, and now they're on very comfortable ground. Sooner or later, you're going to say how many black friends you have. They'll jump all over that. Sooner or later, you're going to say this. They have all their strategies lined up. And how you defeat that? Well, to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, whatever, man. Well, I feel that is racist. Yeah, whatever. You know,
and
unfortunately,
unfortunately,
going in and saying, hey, I didn't mean it that way. Forget it.
I mean, because there's enough crying wolf about it, when we do get legitimate racist attacks, like if something like what happened to what Jussie Smollett claimed happened to him actually happened, people are not going to believe it. You know, so this is a really important point, and I make this point on the show all the time from Casual Goats. I think it's a lot more about culture rather than race. Pretty often, I plenty of white and Spanish people in my city act the same stereotypical way, you know, that they say black people do. And that's actually absolutely 100% correct. I grew up in the ghetto, and it's exactly like that. There is a ghetto culture. And note I said ghetto culture. I didn't say black culture. You know, one of the things that I liked about the Gran Torino film was that it showed that even Asians, you know, can get caught up, you know, in that culture, that there are Asian gangs in the ghetto, you know, and they have that hip hop attitude about them. Strategic, did you want to comment?
Yeah, this is something I talk about often on my show. I always say the culture is dead and we need to change the culture. But the reason why I go so hard as an African American, specifically on the African American community, is because, yes, it's all about culture. You take any person, you put them in a certain culture, they're going to usually produce what that culture is producing. You put them in a culture of doctors and lawyers, they're going to probably follow in that vein. You put them in a culture of gangsters and thugs, they're going to probably end up being a gangster and a thug. But you look at the numbers, and the numbers show that African Americans are victims of this culture more than anybody. So the African American community is in a state of crisis because that gangster culture is their culture. And it's killing black babies, killing black teenagers, and nobody cares unless it's a white cop that's doing the killing, even though that happens probably 1% of the time compared to the other times when it's somebody that looks like me who's doing it. And so that's why I go so hard, because we're in a state of crisis. I want to make another point, but I forgot it. So when I remember it, I'll come back in.
Pipe up, man. So there was another interesting point here. Somebody pointed out, let me find it real quick. You know, that even the wokest of the woke don't believe that, you know, there are people walking around with bullwhips. You know, like as if they feel that it's almost a joke. That what I have noticed is this. So like, I actually plan on doing a stream about this at some point, but I need to figure out which one of these videos is going to get me nailed and which ones are not. But like, there are a lot of parodies, like things that were parodies, like as in we're being silly, this isn't real, from even 5, 6, 7 years ago, that were meant to be ridiculous, like overblown, exaggerated forms of reality. And now those parodies are becoming more real all the time. And while I don't think we're going to produce an army of white women with bullwhips in parks going after kids for playing basketball, you'd be surprised how much crazy stuff becomes normal. Like there's one guy, I think his name is Neil Kadathar, something like that. He's an Indian guy, and he makes these videos. And one of them is called Modern Education, and it's spelled wrong, you know, and it's set in a classroom, and you know, it's got this dystopian vibe to it. Yeah, and it was a joke. Like, and when you first watch, you're like, man, that's pretty funny. That's just like a slightly exaggerated version of reality, you know, because it's a math class. And then, you know, like they ask a mathematic question, and then he gives the right answer, and then, you know, they go wrong, you know, and then someone else raises their hand, and they're like, oh, well, it's, you know, it's gender equality. That's the correct answer, you know, like, and then he's like, this has nothing to do with math, you know, like. The point is that sound at the time was just a silly parody that was just on the edge with like little bits of reality. When you go back and watch some of these parodies, they're just not funny anymore. They're not because they're not good entertainment. It's worth watching. There was another one. It was like, you know, imagine a woke therapist, you know, and the woke therapist just attacks this white male the entire time that he's saying, you know, I'm kind of sad about my father dying, and like, she's like, don't you understand that, you know, there are so many people without fathers who are people of color? Like, you know, and again, that sounds like it was a parody. But now, what did we end up with? We ended up with a psychologist at Yale telling everybody that she, you know, fantasizes about shooting white men in the head with a revolver. You know, so it's not a parody anymore. Like there's some reality to it. So
Yeah,
as
it's
the
hard to tell
absurd
that-
is becoming regular. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what's parody and not. This bullwhip one is not a parody. I actually thought it was until I saw the very end before this show came on.
Sure.
And saw, oh no, this was actually a serious attempt. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, good grief.
Right.
But yeah, it's getting hard to tell parody from the reality because things are just so goofy.
Right. So go ahead, Bernice. I see you pipe up, and then I'll play this next video.
Well, also, I think that that's becoming apparent to a lot of the population now. Like, and I think it's kind of culminated around like the transgender issue, because I think that most people, 97% of the population, thinks that men should not be playing women's sports. And I think that that's just they've just gone so far out there on this issue and so many others, but that's the one that's really waking people up to like, oh my God, what is going on here? And so I think that there's going to start to be a pushback very soon against a lot of this stuff. Like, I think people are just tired of it. You can kind of see it starting at some of these companies. Like, I know Netflix today announced, like, sent out a memo that if you're offended by anything that we put out, then maybe this isn't the place for you. Like, that's a big step for a company that was cowering before 10 people who didn't like Dave Chappelle's special, like, you know, less than a year ago. So I think that a pushback is coming, and I think that we're going to see it in the next couple of years.
Batwoman finally got canceled. I don't know if you guys followed that, but
and also I was going to comment on what Johnny Walker Dread said earlier
Go
about
ahead.
like putting people on their back foot, like, you know, the way that the left smears people on the right is like racist, sexist, homo, like all that sort of stuff. It seems to me that the right is, and I don't know how I feel about this because I don't really like the idea of just smearing people in order to try and put them on the defensive. But the whole groomer thing, like, they are getting super angry about being called that. I don't know if you saw the TYT meltdown over Joe Rogan mentioning something about it, but man, they do not like that.
Cenk Uygur is so bad now. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. He's gone
losing
crazy.
it, man. Like, I mean, I wasn't on board with the guy anyway, because even as a leftist, they were not. They're just becoming MSNBC for progressives or Fox for progressives. They're not. And as a consequence of that, they're basically, after they got that, I think somebody gave them like $2 million or something like that. It was just, that show just
Jeffrey
$2 million.
Katzenberg, Jimmy Dore mentions it all the time.
Yeah, that show just went into a downward spiral, and you can't even count on them for anything anymore. And
Are you talking about the Young Turks?
yeah,
Yes.
the Young Turks. So
I've shredded them a few times.
we got from Technosaurus makes this interesting point. Can you imagine Blazing Saddles or Soul Man being rebooted today? You couldn't do that. I remember Joe Rogan had Robert Downey Jr. on. He's like, "Do you think you could do Tropic Thunder today?" And he's like, "Well, you could do it." The thing is that I think that one of the things about, well, Soul Man's a little different, but Blazing Saddles and Tropic Thunder, they were making fun of racists. Like, they were making racists look silly and stupid, you know, and to me, that's effective. Like, I think that's a great way to go about this, you know, to make those people just look silly, you know, because then society turns on it. Like, when we get into the situation where the activism amounts to just calling out and attacking white people all the time, you know, I've already done videos about why that doesn't work. You know, it's not just about whether or not it's wrong to accuse somebody who's not part of your problem. It's not effective. Nobody just suddenly has epiphanies that they feel differently about a people by you attacking their people. In fact, science shows that it does the opposite. It has a sociological, psychological effect of making you literally engage in retaliatory similar behavior. Like, basically you hit them back with it. Well, your people do this or you people do that. In other words, you start being racist because somebody was racist to you. So, super chat from Lucifer the Doberman: the most extreme have the largest voices. And that's true. I call them the loud minority. And we were talking earlier about the way that media is pushing back. I think that people are starting to grasp the Twitter effect, is that just because something is trending on Twitter does not necessarily mean it actually reflects the the populace. You see that, for example, when they went after Gina Carano for the things she said, in Star Wars. That was because a Twitter mob wanted her fired. And it gets you the impression that you think that must mean a lot of people, but there's a very small, very dedicated group of people that and they did it also to the son of the founder of Dungeons and Dragons, the dice and paper game. They went to the TSR account on Twitter and just harassed it endlessly, trying to demand that they, say that, all trans women are women and trans men are men. Like, literally, there were certain things that they were demanding from them. And that's the same crap they did to Gina Carano. And it was the same concept, that we're going to attack and make it look like there's just thousands of us. When the reality is, it's just a group of people who are very dedicated to looking for somebody to witch hunt, and that's the game they're playing. So anyway, I got another video. Is there anything else anybody wants to squeeze out before I play it? Going once. Going twice. All right, here we go. So this one is actually also not a parody, I guess, but the cops in this film. I'll just play the video.
Morning.
Good morning, officer.
License and registration, please.
May I ask why you pulled me over, sir?
Yeah, you didn't come to a complete stop at the stop sign back there.
Well, actually, I did come to a complete stop at that stop sign.
No, you didn't. And I see that you're not from this area.
Oh, that's correct. I'm not from this area. I live about 25 miles out.
What are you doing here?
I'm visiting a friend from this neighborhood.
A friend?
Yeah.
I highly doubt you have a friend that lives in this neighborhood.
Wait, what is that supposed to mean?
Do me a favor. Tell your friend to meet you somewhere else, because I don't want to see you in this neighborhood again.
Excuse me?
You heard what I said.
Sir, with all due respect, I haven't done anything wrong. There's no reason for me not to be able to be in this neighborhood.
Yes, there is. If you don't do exactly what I say, do you understand how much trouble I can get you in?
Excuse me?
I could make up any reason or any story that I want to arrest you right now. Be your word against mine. And who do you think they're going to believe? Some thug or an upstanding police officer?
But I didn't do anything, sir.
That's what I thought. Get out of here. I don't want to see you in this neighborhood again. You got it? Do you got it?
Yeah, I got it all right.
You wanted to see me, Captain?
Yeah, Kyle, have a seat. I heard a rumor about you.
Rumor?
Actually, it's quite a few rumors. I heard that you're a dirty cop. I heard that you've been racially profiling people and harassing them. A lot of rumors, Kyle, the bad kind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You remember stopping a man last Saturday by the name of Wade?
No, I don't recall.
Memory's a bit hazy, huh?
Not to my recollection.
Black man in his 30s. You stopped him around the Mango Park condo complex driving a silver Hyundai.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled him over for running a stop sign.
That's him.
What about him?
Well, you stopped him for no valid reason.
Again, Captain, with all due respect, that's not true. I stopped him for running a stop sign, and I didn't even give him a ticket, so I don't really see what the problem is.
Well, the problem is that you stopped him for no valid reason, and then you threatened him if you saw him in the neighborhood again. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that, sir.
How convenient.
If you don't do exactly what I say, you understand how much trouble I can get you in?
Excuse me?
I could make up any reason or any story that I want to arrest you right now. Be your word against mine. And who do you think they're going to believe? Some thug or an upstanding police officer? Where did you get this? Who gave it to you?
Where do you think I got it?
come down here and file a complaint?
No, not exactly.
What are you doing?
George, you mind coming inside the conference room for a second, please? Thanks.
What's going on? What is he doing here? Why are you wearing a badge?
Officer Kyle Jacobs, please allow me to introduce you to Officer George Wade.
Wait. You're a police officer?
Yes, he is.
So that's actually not the video that I thought I was playing, but
But I
go
do
ahead
have
and
a
comment
comment.
on that one.
I got a comment. I don't know. After watching this, I used to really like strategic guys and had respect for him, but if he goes around doing this shit, I don't even know why you have him on this show. How do you explain yourself, strategic?
Me? Well, I used to work internal affairs back in the day, so I guess I would have been that black guy walking in the room. But not anymore. Those days are behind me. This is just hilarious, man. It's ridiculous.
The
But I'm
editing is
surprised
so
that they missed
bad.
the opportunity to have him as the deputy commissioner. He was just a police officer. I mean, come on, go for broke.
Not just that, but they copied it from Rambo.
Oh yeah, he just wanted something to eat.
Yeah. Driving through the other side of town, get lost, or I'll arrest you. That's what.
ready to
That was
make
just
your
from Rambo.
Oh shoot! You know what? He's right. That is from Rambo.
The first Rambo movie is so underrated, tragically, because it was actually a very powerful story, just about how bad it was for Vietnam vets when they got home. So, all right, let me go ahead and this is the one I thought I was watching. So, pipe in on this one when we're done.
Johnny, you're in the video.
First arrest for the Mango Park Police Department.
How do you know we're going to arrest him? We haven't even talked to him yet.
Oh, come on, Mark. You heard the radio call. The suspect's black. Loitering. What more do you need to know?
I don't know. Maybe he's innocent.
Well, whatever. All right, Mark.
Wait, did he just do a little dance before he went around the corner?
Hello, young man.
It looked like it.
So is this the guy, the police commissioner, or is it? Sorry.
Well, at this point, it looks like he's playing a new role. I'll continue it.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, officers.
We got a complaint about someone fitting your description loitering around here.
Oh, really? No complaints around here. I'm just waiting on my friend.
Do you have any ID on you?
Yeah, sure.
So tell me, Mr. James Washington, what are you doing here today?
Well, officer, me and my friend are going to a game and I'm just waiting for him to pick me up.
Well, I highly doubt today that you'll be seeing a game.
Wait, what do you mean?
You heard what I said.
Officer, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just waiting for my friend.
See that sign over there? Can you read it?
Loitering? Really, officer?
Mark, you got your handcuffs out?
Yes, sir.
What?
Please handcuff this man.
Wait, what are you doing?
Stay still. Get down on one knee. Get down. Get down. Down. All the way down. All the way down.
Don't make this any harder on yourself, boy. Get up. Go get that rope over there.
Well, they're not going to hang him, are they? Oh,
No,
no.
we're not going to go quite that cliche.
Yes,
Continue.
so why don't we take any chances with this guy?
But we have him in handcuffs already.
So what? He might try to resist again. Come on, just do what I say.
Drop your head, Sergeant.
Oh my God. What are you doing?
All right, we got him, sir.
We're heading back to the station. Come on. Come on, boy.
Oh my God, this is so bad. This is like the racist version of the Keystone Cops.
Hell no. Hello, Captain. What the hell is going on here? We apprehended the suspect and we were walking him back to the police station. What? Are you kidding me? What, is he some type of animal that you can rope and display and you drag it down the street to the station? Well, he was resisting and we thought it was best we tie him up so he couldn't run again. I didn't think it was any big deal.
Yeah, it's a parody of the, well, not a parody, but it's that Texas deal, the two cops on horseback. Does anybody know about it?
And they tie him up by like, what do they do? Like 30 laps around his waist or something.
Yeah.
And then they lead him along.
At least they didn't hang him. Okay, so.
So Strategic, since you're the expert, I mean, your whole channel is about addressing police brutality. Did you have any comments on their techniques?
Okay,
Well,
so let me explain the background of this one.
Okay.
About 3 years ago, two police officers on horseback arrested a black male. I don't recall what the actual charge was. And they were on horseback, though. They unfortunately would put themselves in a really bad spot. They didn't know how to bring the suspect in because they're on horseback. They can't dismount. And so what they did was they just led him down to the police station, which was like a block away. Very bad optics. Obviously, what they did here was to take that to ridiculous levels. But that's what that's the actual event they're trying to play off of. And even the hats, you notice the cowboy hats? That's reminiscent of the actual event that took place. Because they're like out of Galveston, Texas, maybe? I don't recall. Maybe somebody out there in viewerland can tell me.
Well, we always know Texans are racist since, remember, it was the racist Trumper Texans that attacked them at that Carmine's restaurant in New York. And then it turned out it was Black Lives Matter supporters who got into a fight with the Asian hostess. But the TYT never withdrew that. But anyway, yeah, I was going to say, Strategic, did you have any comments about the methods employed by the police officers in this parody? It's not a parody.
Well, I didn't know about this Galveston situation. I just actually Googled it while Dredd was saying it, and yeah, terrible optics. I mean,
it was really bad.
You know, they didn't have to walk this guy to the police station. They could have called for a patrol car to, pick him up. It's what you're supposed to do when you're mounted. I mean, I don't know what the policy is for Galveston. Obviously, I'm on the other side of the country. But I'd imagine that if you're in a position like that, the department would understand that you can't apprehend a suspect because you're mounted. So you would call for a patrol car. So that was really stupid of them. And it's things like that really irks law enforcement officers, because people do stupid things and then it gives fuel to the people who hate cops and the race baiters. The one thing I say about this video, I mean, it appears it was a lawful arrest because he did admit to loiter. And there was a sign there saying no loitering. But I thought this was a parody. Like the other one, I felt like they were trying to be serious, and they believe, the Indian producers, they believe that this is how America is every single day. But I really thought that this one was just a straight up parody. And now I find out it's actually based off of a true story. Shame on those Galveston cops for doing that, because I cannot purport to know what's in their heart, to know why they did it. They probably just did it because, like you said, they just wanted to get the suspect back to the police station, but they should have known better.
Yeah, not to defend them, because I think it was also a pretty stupid thing to do. There were a couple of mitigating factors. One was the police station was within sight. I mean, it was like a block away; they could see it, and it was also super hot.
Well,
so
that's the thing.
You're looking at it thinking like, look, nobody's going to see it. Let's just walk them down here and get this over.
It's bad tactics, because he can get away. This guy has one arm. You don't ever move a suspect that far, whether it's a block away or a couple 100 feet, because that suspect has the opportunity, however it may happen, to get away. So you want to keep them stationary, you want to keep them on the ground, sit down, or lean up against a car or whatever, and then you want to get them into a patrol wagon of some sort. So since that didn't happen like 20 years ago, this is modern policing that this happened, it still is a bad decision to make. You're up on a mountain. So what if this guy, I don't know where they had the rope tied. Maybe they had it tied on to like the saddle. I'm not really a horse guy, obviously. I'm from New York. But if you just hold it, I'm sorry.
Handcuffed, and then they had the rope tied from the handcuffs, and they were holding the rope.
Right. So what if he pulls away? Like, listen, handcuffs mean nothing. I've watched people kick my ass with handcuffs on. You know, and it's easier for them to kick your ass with handcuffs on because you got to watch what type of force you use on them. Because if you got handcuffs and you're kicking me and I'm punching you in your face, I'm screwed because you're handcuffed. So people get away with more.
Go ahead.
Not just that, but it's stupid because horses are wild animals. All it would take is the guy to, if they strap it to the horse, all it would take is for the guy to do something crazy to have the horse kick you off the back, and then he's running and you're, on the ground with like a busted hip or something like that.
Right, absolutely. And, Johnny just said that they were just holding the rope. So if you just try and run away, you can pull the cop off of the horse. Like, some of these guys are really strong. So it was just bad. It was just bad tactics. So I don't even care about the politics of it or the social justice part of it. As an officer, it was terrible tactics. And then once again, it sets us back because now people are going to say, oh, they were pulling him along because he was a black man, and it's just not the case. But go ahead. Or at least we don't know if it's the case.
Yeah. The bad thing about it is that these little movies, they portray this as, well, this is what always happens.
Yeah.
I only know of this ever happening once.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, guys. So I because I'm still getting used to the super chat thing. So I got like 4 back-to-back super chats for $1 from Isaac Bowles. And then he says, you're monetized after he gets to like the 4th one. So thank you for your generous donations, $1 at a time. Sorry, please continue your conversation.
No, I'm actually
go ahead.
I would just point out, are you guys sure this isn't a parody video? I mean, it's an alleged anti-racist video where the one black guy, other than the one being arrested, in the car goes, oh, hell nah. Like, are you sure that's an anti-racist video? Because that seems like something out of a Reno 911 sketch to me.
Sadly, the thing is that it's only funny because we are anti-woke people who don't like what they're doing. That it's like, I think if you actually just watched a comedy like this, you'd be like, what the hell? Like, if you were trying to make something funny, it would be like Blazing Saddles. It would be like here's a fantastic example. Bustin' Loose. The old Richard Pryor film where like they run into the Ku Klux Klan and he's the bus driver, and then like they have to convince, because like one of the kids accidentally pulls one of the Klan members' hoods off, and they goes, don't worry, they're all blind. Like that was an example of really entertaining, making Ku Klux Klan members look like clowns. Like, if you were gonna write a story to make fun of racists, that's the way you go about it, and it works.
There's also the Amazing Racist.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, but the other thing is, I'm not sure what the purpose is. At one glance, you might think, well, maybe this is part of a really cheesy training film for police leaders. You got to spot this kind of thing when it happens. But I don't think that that's the purpose. I'm not sure what they're trying to do.
Well, it says that their Generation Hope, whatever this organization is, like that they supposedly have like some kind of target demographic. So like in this next video, Myth Informed Mike says, a new genre of after-school special is emerging. It's very popular. Call it contemporary woke race-baiting fiction. The fans of this genre believe these videos depict real-life occurrences. Apparently, sometimes in the comments, they're getting reactions from people who believe that this is how it is, or they're acting like in it. And unfortunately, I can't really say I don't believe that. I can't see the comments on the YouTube videos. I'm not on their channel. I'm checking these out on Twitter, but still, and I haven't watched this next one. We'll watch it after a moment of us talking about this one. But just the notion that, okay, well, we got another super chat, $20.
Whoa.
These videos prove Poe's law is real. Can somebody explain to me what Poe's law is?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that is.
Does anybody know what that means? I'll look for a follow-up from him. That's from Excel, right? Oh, and by the way, Strategic, thank you for your super chat earlier. I just forgot to say something since you're actually on the show. But so
It's
in any case, go ahead.
Poe's Law is an internet meme that any parody can be basically mistaken for an ideology at its extreme.
Okay, no,
That's
that
basically
makes
Poe's
perfect
Law.
sense.
By the way, I would also like to say that whatever they're paying these actors is too much.
Right? Yeah,
It's
they're
like they're reading
terrible.
cue cards. Oh, this is horrible.
It reminds me of like a middle school play.
Yeah,
where they don't. I mean, it's like they're trying, but they don't really get it. And it's unfortunate because, again, when they say that this is race baiting, that's the problem. Is that there are unfortunately people that are going to watch stuff like this, and it's going to galvanize them in that direction.
Johnny, you're too hard on yourself. You were okay as slightly racist cop number 2. You're too hard on yourself. You did all right.
Slightly racist.
Hey, that old.
What do you mean we're going to arrest him? We don't even know him yet. What do you mean? He's black. Of course we're going to arrest him. I'm like, oh my God. But that's unfortunately, that's the other thing. All parodies aside, they tell everybody that that's what cops do. Like that they just drive around looking for random black people. That is the impression that they give everybody. And, that's one of the reasons why I tell everybody, tune into Strategic Eyes as often as you can to get the real truth about what goes on with policing. And you'll see, as you saw today, he'll push back if he doesn't agree with something. He's not just 100% on any one direction. That's why I like him. He's a free thinker, and he's a good, clear thinker, and he's encouraging thinking on his channel. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys go subscribe. But, following up here, Excel Wright says, Poe's Law is an adage of internet culture, stating that without a clear indicator of the author's intent, every parody of extreme views can be mistaken, which just goes on with what Bernowski said. So, thanks for your super chat, man. I appreciate it. That's the second $20 super chat I've ever had in my life. Yay! So I haven't seen this next one yet. Strategic, haven't heard from you. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before I pipe on to the next one?
No, I'm good. Thanks for the shout out. I'm just, I just got home, so I'm multitasking.
Sure.
And yeah, I'll definitely chime in when I have something worthwhile to say. Thanks, man.
No problem. Technosaurus says this is why the Babylon Bee gets fact checked. I couldn't help myself.
By the way, considering fact checking, I have a video on my channel that came out this past week on fact checking itself and how it's become just a tool.
No, I don't disagree. I've been hit with 2 misinformation strikes over the course of my time on YouTube, and it was crazy because they were both for things that I said during really long streams, so they couldn't exactly identify, what the bad stuff was, but they took me off the air for a week for that stuff. So,
well, to be honest, fact checking has always been kind of the misadministration of it has been kind of a problem since the start. Like PolitiFact, which is the largest known fact checker, is run by the Tampa Bay Times. The Tampa Bay Times is a newspaper in Florida that has endorsed a Democrat for president in every single election since 1900. So they're not exactly some neutral arbiter, and they're the ones who run PolitiFact. So it's always been kind of like who's fact checking the fact checkers type of thing.
So Isaac Bowles says he found me through Good Logic. Thanks for the super chat again. And yes, Good Logic show is another one that's fantastic. He was kind enough to bring me on his show to talk about the Zeminski trial because my video was one of the ones that kind of brought to the attention of the local officials that, yeah, by the way, there's this guy named Joshua Zeminski. You might want to arrest him, because he fired the first shot. So it was great for him to bring me on. I got a lot of great viewers from that channel. You guys should check him out. He's been covering the Amber Heard trial a lot. He covered the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Does a lot of good stuff like that. And sometimes he just does good general commentary on just world events and talks about Jewish culture a lot. I've learned a lot of interesting things from him from that. So, and then somebody just brought up Snopes. The Snopes article, I haven't read it recently, but the Snopes article about Kyle Rittenhouse was so bad, and I was like, I know it wasn't even updated even during the trial. Like when things were being proven to be wrong, Snopes was not updating their stuff. And it's just, there's definitely a partisanship to it. And that's why, I did a bunch of videos, and if you guys haven't watched them yet, I just did a bunch of the ones about why are they freaking out about Twitter. The reason they're freaking out about Twitter is that social science will tell you that you only need to convince about 25% of the population and get them really on board with something before it tends to have a chain reaction effect sociologically, and then society in general will adopt it. And so that's what they're fighting over. That's what social media is for them, is their attempt to try to get that 25%. And, you know, when Elon Musk buys Twitter, then that throws a monkey wrench in it. Not because I think Elon is some benevolent savior, but because they know they can't control him. You know, it's just like when they freaked out about Trump. It's about the fact that they can't control him. Like, you know, I'm not a Trump guy. I've told everybody who listens to my channel that too, but it's the truth though. That's what made them nervous. They can't control Elon, and they can't control Trump, and they also can't control what Elon is going to do with Twitter. You know, and then I'm going to do a video specifically about this, but Glenn Greenwald brought up that there was a letter from the PSYOP community. Basically, they were former CIA guys, just basically the espionage community wrote a letter saying you can't break up big tech, social media because it's too important to national security. And if you guys watch my video about why are they panicking about Twitter, I bring up a couple of old articles, even reported again. This is not Alex Jones tinfoil hattery. This is literally was on NBC News, or I think it was ABC News, you know, that the military was commissioning people to write software for the purpose of creating, mass armies of, fake identities to sway public opinion. So this is a real thing that our government was engaged in, and they've admitted that they do it. They say, just don't worry, we don't use that on American citizens. We only use that on, people from foreign countries, like we're supposed to believe that. You know, another super chat from the SC crew. Hello, thank you very much. Great to have you guys.
By the way,
I brought my family with me, guys. They're gonna make me rich.
Go ahead, Johnny.
The Snopes thing on Kyle Rittenhouse, I have a video on that where I disclose the little tricks that they use to basically make themselves like true, but still get the whole anti-Kyle message going. It's you can't trust PolitiFact, Snopes, any of them. Really, and I've said it before, you can't do fact checking by committee. There's just no way. The political subjectivity is going to creep in.
Right. And that's why I tell people, and that's why I do a whole series called Do You Think for Yourself, to try to teach my audience specifically, these are the things that happen to all people, some of which can be manipulated, some of which are just things that are operating in your psyche that you may not be aware of. I stick very carefully, for example, to psychological phenomenon that can be reproduced, like the Milgram experiment, as an example, the Ash conformity experiment. There is good social and psychological science out there, pre-wokeness, where you can get these, experiments that you can reproduce. Then I also do multiple shows about censorship, one of which ironically got censored. So if you want to see the full version of it, you'll have to go to my BitChute, Odyssey, or my Rumble channel. But that's also part of Do You Think for Yourself, because we're going to get to a point, especially with deep fake technology and the way that things are being innovated, that we're going to have to just be able to critically think through this stuff ourselves. We're not going to be able to trust the news, and even people who when I was doing the Ukraine stuff, I told them, I'm like, and now I just won't touch it because they don't want you to even go after it. But I told everybody, I'm like, I don't know for sure any of this stuff, guys. These are just random videos on Twitter. There's really no way to know what's going on over there unless you're on the ground. I was hoping that maybe somebody from that country would be a streamer. I was hoping like you see these guys at protests. I was hoping somebody would literally just go out there with their phone and show us live what was going on. That would have been fantastic, but it hasn't happened yet. And I don't know if it will. I know Sean Penn's over there, but I don't want to get too much into that topic and get myself whacked. But the point is that, we don't know, and unfortunately a lot of things going forward are going to be like that. We're not going to know. We're going to have to be able to use our own goddamn brains. That's really, one of my mentors is Jacques Fresco. He's the progenitor of the Venus Project. He was like 103 years old when he finally passed away. And he said, really, the only way to protect yourself from fascism is critical thinking. You got to be able to think critically. And when you think about it, Orwell in 1984 openly, not actually wasn't 1984, it was in his own personal writings, pointed out that if you get to a point that society is trying to eliminate objective truth, that's when you know an authoritarian movement is trying to take control of your country. And that's where we're at. We don't know what the truth is, and we're trying. So we're going to have to get to a point, guys, where you are cultivating self-defense for the mind. If you haven't watched my Do You Think for Yourself series, you can find it on a playlist on my channel. I implore you, please check this stuff out, especially since I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I have health issues. They still haven't finished my cancer screening yet because I guess my colon is too long. Never heard that before. But watch that series, because for me, that's one of the reasons I don't focus too much on right versus left on this channel. I think we have bigger problems, and those bigger problems of thinking versus not. So before we go on, I want to give everybody the opportunity, since I just blah for quite a bit there, to comment on anything I just said. Bernusky, you haven't said anything for a while.
Yeah, it's very funny what you were just talking about, because I watch your series all the time on Do You Think for Yourself? And I like to think that I do. Like, I like to think that I don't fall for a lot of the things that the media puts out, like especially with the whole Ukraine thing. I've been super skeptical of everything reported from the start. And because of that, like the simple act of just waiting for the facts to come out, I haven't really gotten too much wrong on that when discussing it with people. I didn't fall for any of the hoaxes like the Snake Island thing or the Ghost of Kiev or anything like that. But it's just amazing how even when I am so aware of how dishonest the media is, I still fall for a lot of their crap sometimes. Like a great example of this is, did you remember recently it was reported that a Tennessee law was trying to legalize child marriage or something like that?
No.
So it was reported, I'm sure it was on like the Young Turks or something like that, because it was in the context of the Florida Parental Rights and Education Act, which Republicans were calling the anti-groomer bill and Democrats were calling the Don't Say Gay bill. And they basically made the point of like Republicans are trying to legalize, child marriage in Tennessee. They don't believe this stuff. And I thought to myself right away, I was like, God damn it, they would be stupid enough to screw something like this up. But the reality of the situation was I fell for it again, because the actual law had nothing to do with that. It was a law about legalizing, well, not legalizing, I don't know if that's the right term, but basically creating a legal framework for common law marriage in Tennessee. So it had nothing to do with child marriage. It just didn't specifically say that for the common law marriage law that they were passing, the children weren't involved. So they said this law could legalize child marriage. And I fell for that crap. And I immediately, because I was, talking to some family members about it. I was like, yeah, this stupid stuff is ridiculous. And then I started reading about it. I was like, God damn it, I fell for their stupid crap again. I can't believe I keep doing this. So yeah, it's, you got to think for yourself, guys. You got to look into everything before you go out and just repeat the bogus talking points that you see on TV from all sides, because they're all pushing an agenda. And even when you do think, like, I know these people are lying, I know they're lying to me, sometimes you can still fall prey to stuff that just either confirms your biases or makes you think, like, how could we do something this stupid or that sort of thing.
So real quickly, I'm seeing proof of human cloning because there's multiple strategic eyes. Let me see if this is the one. Strategic, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Sorry.
Okay, good. No, it's no problem. It's just you were echoing a little bit. So if we're good, we're good. You can stay on. Okay, go ahead, Johnny. You were trying to talk.
Yeah, Common Cure, by the way, who's put in some cash for you there in the super chat.
Oh yeah, I'm going to pull him up in a second. I was making sure you were.
Well, I was going to
go
remark on this, and as a follow-up to what Berdusky just said, most of what we think we know, what happened with Zimmerman, we really don't. And the reason why we think we know it is because we've been told it many, many times by various sources. Could be friends, it could be the mainstream media, it might be on social media. The truth of it is, none of us were there. None of us know what really happened. Did Zimmerman, was he at fault? Was Trayvon Martin at fault? None of us know and will never know. And the truth of it is that most of what we think we know about Zimmerman is actually false. And it was the same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? A lot of the things that people still doggedly insist are facts associated with the case never happened. And with Zimmerman, we hear it all the time. The police told him, not to go. No, that didn't happen. The dispatcher said that he doesn't need to. Actually, her words were, we don't need you to do that when it comes to following him. The media said that the police told him not to go. Dispatchers are not necessarily police officers. You don't have to listen to a damn thing a dispatcher says. In some states, I don't know. Maybe strategic can follow up on that. But
yeah, I only had one comment, and I do want to definitely bump this to strategic. Was just to say, well, I know one thing: he wasn't a white guy.
Yeah, that's the other. Well, now keep in mind whether he was white or not depends on which side of the gun he's on. Okay, and he's doing the shooting. Therefore, even though he's Hispanic, he's white Hispanic. If he was the shootee, guess what? But there's just, for example, the whole idea that he yelled out an expletive was covered very thoroughly on my show. I went through it, and guess what? Pretty much everybody agrees now that he did not say a racial expletive on the phone. But guess what? 9 out of 10 people will tell you that he did because they were told he did.
Right.
So I would suggest, I'm not saying that Zimmerman was innocent or guilty. None of us have enough knowledge to know for sure. And I'll say this, none of us have enough knowledge to be able to convict him.
So thanks again for Common Cure for your super chat. Strategic, you there? Do you want to comment on this one? I've never heard anything on Zimmerman.
I think I wholeheartedly disagree with Mr. Dredd on this one. First of all, I don't see any dichotomy between or similarities or anything like that between Rittenhouse and Zimmerman. I think it was very clear for anybody who watched even a smidgen of the evidence in the Rittenhouse case that Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent, period. You just look at the video, the raw video that came out right away, you could tell that this young man was defending himself. Zimmerman is a different animal. I believe that there was enough evidence to convict this gentleman. I'm not saying that Zimmerman is racist. I don't know that. I can't see in somebody's heart. I say that all the time. We call people racist, and just because we think that racism motivated them in doing what they did, I don't have any evidence of that. What I do have evidence of is what came out in the trial, that number one, no, the dispatcher didn't say, don't follow him, that's a direct order. But I think most logical human beings, when they're told, we don't need you to do that, would take, maybe I shouldn't do that. But what we do know is that this young man was not committing any crimes. He had every reason to be in the area. His father lived in the development. He went to the store and was returning from the store. I think Zimmerman was overzealous and stopped him for what he perceived as an untrained person, as him acting suspiciously. And this is where I defer with people on this case, is that I put myself in the shoes of this young man. Some stranger's coming up to you and they're aggressive, asking you questions. What are you going to do? You have two options. You can cry like I did when that guy called me an N-word in my face, or you can be just as aggressive, like get out of my way, don't talk to me, I don't need to tell you anything. I think Zimmerman tried to exert authority that he did not have on this young man. And when it turned into fisticuffs, which I do not agree with, I don't ever advocate violence, but it does happen, it is a part of the human condition. When it became a physical altercation and he started to lose, he went to a gun. And if you look at the character of Zimmerman since that's happened, you can tell that that man is a coward. Now, I'm a professional. I'm trained to look at cowards. I see cowards every day. I could smell them a mile away. Zimmerman is a bona fide coward. And when he got his butt kicked by that little boy, he decided to shoot that boy. Now, if I would have shot that kid, I'd be doing life in prison. If one of you guys had a badge and you shot that kid, you'd be doing life in prison and you'd be a racist according to the public opinion, even though you may not even be a racist. But for some strange reason, this guy got away with it. And I'm not saying it's racial. I don't know what's in his heart. I'm just telling you what they would call us. I'd be a sellout and you guys would be racist if you shot him and you had a badge. Zimmerman got away with it. But there's no reason why he should have stopped that child. And I'm a big anti-vigilante guy. You want to enforce things, you should have gone to the police academy, took the training, took the oath, and go out there and serve your community. If you don't have those qualifications, you should not be out there enforcing the law. I'm a big proponent of that. And this is what happens when you have wannabe cowards, a guy who tried to be in a police department a million times and they didn't want him. And then now You're on the phone with 911, calling the cops on somebody who's not doing nothing wrong. Zimmerman never articulated this kid doing anything wrong. Nothing. It's looking suspicious. Well, we don't need you to do that. That's cop talk for, I know a dispatcher's not a cop, but we all talk that way. That's cop talk for mind your business. That's a nice way of saying mind your business without you getting some civilian review complaint that you was discourteous or something like that. Yeah, we don't really need you to do that. Instead of, dude, mind your effing business and don't go after this guy. There's no excuse to shoot a young boy that age unless you can articulate that you face deadly physical force or grave bodily injury. But, they had that council doctrine, standing ground stuff down there, and he was able to get away with it.
Okay, well, first of all, just as a rebuttal there was no stand your ground here. That was never invoked. They read the stand your ground to the jury, but that's normal practice. In all your self-defense, they read that part of the statute, but it was not a stand your ground case because Zimmerman wasn't claiming to stand his ground. The other one is that if you listen to the actual phone, the recording, when they told him you don't need to do that, he walked back to his car. I don't know of any evidence that there was a confrontation between the two where they stood off against each other. I'm wondering, and you know what? I mean, I could be off, but I have a feeling that we just, the evidence that you have that you formulated to get an idea of what happened, I don't think it's there. I don't think that there is enough information to be able to formulate. I think you're filling in a lot of blanks there. So I would suggest that probably needs to be revisited. But I think that the recording of the phone call by Zimmerman when he's on it, when I listened to it, it sounded to me like once he was told, well, you don't need to do that, Zimmerman headed back to his vehicle. So,
I'm kind of in between the two of you on this situation, but if it's okay with you guys, it's kind of an older topic.
Yeah,
I'd like to
move on.
Yeah, I'd like to continue what we're doing. I kind of agree with both of you. I agree with Strategic Eyes that it's nothing like the Rittenhouse case because that one was just so open and shut, like completely obvious. But I'd like to move on if that's okay with you guys.
I'm not saying that Zimmerman was.
Before we move on, I have a new name. I am the stranger. Yes, I like it. I'm rebranding my whole channel. No, I love it. I love it. No, that's even better than Strategic Eyes, the stranger. I love it.
I was thinking Stranger Things and Strategic Eyes. My bad.
So we got a fun shout out here. Rakita Law is about to stream, but it's more about Amber Heard nonsense. So I think I'll stay here. If people ask me why I wasn't doing anything about the Amber Heard thing, I did finally do one video because I think Amber Heard and also Jada Pinkett Smith are both examples of what I would call the toxic feminine, which is now finally getting some attention. If there's anything positive to come out of all of that, is that people are now kind of going, wow, man, a woman can really wreck your life if they want to, huh? So if there's anything positive that'll come out of it, that will be what will come out of it. The reason I don't cover too much is it does feel a lot like an Inquirer story, but anyway, thanks for sticking around, Casual. Good Logic's been trying to get Rakita Law to bring me on for quite a while. He never gets in touch with me, but feel free to super chat him if you want to see me over there. But and my thoughts on the Zimmerman thing was just that I knew that he wasn't a Caucasian yet. For some reason, it gets spread around that he was. And the reason that was important is because they needed to fit the narrative. So, but going along with that, moving on, we've got another video here to watch. I haven't watched this one yet. Did anybody have anything before I start playing it? All right, let's go.
Great, you're doing great. You know what? No, son. Nope, you didn't turn the wheel enough. Go back to the same spot.
10385.
Go ahead, Officer Jacobs.
Suspect has been located. I'm going to question them now.
10-4. Use caution, Officer Jacobs.
Copy that.
Oh, Dad, it's the police. What? Oh,
it's a terrible actor.
I wonder what he's doing here. I don't recognize him. What should I do?
Run.
I wonder if that's the new guy that just transferred. I haven't met him yet.
Okay, well, should I put the window down? Should I mean, can you talk to him? Cause
You know what? Yeah, let the window down, but don't let him know who I am.
why not?
I just want to see how he reacts. This could be interesting.
Dad, please, can you just...
Son.
Can we pause that real quick?
Yeah, 1 second. Go ahead.
Strategic guys, has anyone ever, like, do you think that would ever be a reasonable situation where a dad is in his son with the car practicing driving and he told the cop not to tell him who I am?
So I assume that the father is probably like the law enforcement or supervisor of law enforcement. Is that correct?
That's what it sounds like. We haven't watched this one yet.
Right. So, I mean, typically, we don't play those type of games. I mean, obviously this is some parody bull crap, but, you identify yourself and you keep it moving. I don't want to find out if somebody's some crazy cop, you racist cop. Yo, I'm on the job, man. Leave me alone. I'm out of here. Pretty much it. But no, that's never happened to me. I got to tell you, though, like, listen, when you patrol urban environments, the way that these folks are acting is not how they typically act. What do you want? What are you pulling me over for? People are not yes sir, no sir. People are really mean. And it's very confrontational 90% of the time. People are rarely cooperative as they should be, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, my take on it is that, so the story goes that the cops are just itching to shoot this kid. So the father says, nah, let's see what happens here. Like, wait, I thought that was dangerous.
Okay, continuing.
Down. Okay? Let's see what he does.
Hello, gentlemen. What are you doing in this neighborhood?
Hello, officer. My dad's just teaching me how to drive. So.
Teaching you how to drive, huh?
Yep.
We received a call from one of the neighbors reporting suspicious activity involving a white Toyota. You guys were casing the place out.
Well, we weren't scoping the place out. Like I said, my dad just teaching me how to drive. So.
Why is he teaching you to drive in this nice neighborhood?
Well, actually, we live right around the corner. So.
Oh, you live here?
Yeah, of course.
Well, then you can show me some ID.
Well, about that. Like I said, I'm just learning how to drive, so I don't have an ID.
What about him? Does he have an ID?
I'm sorry. I don't have my ID on me. I must have left it at home.
Of course you don't. I'm going to need you both to get out of the vehicle. Let's go. Move.
Okay.
Can we pause it again?
Today, you, there, you.
There you go.
Strategic guys, in a situation where neither of the people that you're asking has your ID, what is the next step in that case?
Yeah, so when I was watching, I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to stop the flow of the video. Yeah, so basically, the writers of this bullcrap video are actually articulating every single, they're basically validating the officer's actions, because first of all, you're not supposed to learn how to drive without a permit. So that's illegal right there. Number two, the father doesn't have an ID either. So at that point, at the very least, I have, probable cause to at least detain you and determine who you are, because you are committing a VTL. We could even tow the car. I need to now know, is the car registered? Am I going to ask for them to get out the car? Probably not at this moment if they're cooperating, but certainly a summons could be issued to both drivers for what they're doing right now. So a crime is being committed at the moment. So they're trying to make it look like these guys are doing nothing wrong, but they're actually committing a crime.
And it's also just a situation of, just like with that officer who was trying to get that guy's ID earlier, like, if somebody's being squirrely about their ID, I mean, you're the cop, but that doesn't send like messages of, okay, this isn't evidence of a crime, but like that's, I mean, it doesn't justify what this cop is doing, but it kind of like, I know, like, for example, when I deal with the police, I've always been very forthcoming with any information they want, and you can watch the cop visibly calm down, and like he's like, okay, this will be fine. This kid doesn't get in any trouble, you know. But if they're being not forthcoming with their evidence, like that's one of the things that I say to people who are like, well, he was just pulling him over and then he shot him, and I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't know if this guy has done anything else. It doesn't, you know, it's like he didn't get shot for getting out of the car. He got shot because he tried to run and then he fought him. You know, and at that point, the cop has got to assume, well, you're fighting me. You must be really not wanting to go to jail, and you could be dangerous. Those are the thoughts that pop into someone's head. I mean, I'm going a little further there, but go ahead and rebut to that, and then I'll continue playing.
Let me jump in there real quick. A lot of it is body language and how you present yourself, because people do forget licenses. It happens a lot, and then you can look the person up and see that they have a valid license. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of law enforcement in the area by where I work and where I live. It's like cop land. If you're white, black, Latino, Asian, whatever, and you have a concealed carry firearm in a holster, we'd never stop you, because thugs never wear holsters. So if you are a thug, gangster, murderer, and you buy a nice holster and you have your gun in there and the butt peeks out, we're going to assume you're a cop.
Right.
So it's like, it's all how you present yourself. So if I stop you and I'm like, hey, you know, do you have your ID? Like, I didn't have my ID the other day. I left it in my command because I was so tired. I literally left my wallet, left documents, everything, debit card, everything, credit cards. And I got pulled over, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm on the job. He's like, you got your ID? And I was like, oh, shoot, I left it. And, you know, I kind of was like, all right, no worries, because my body language wasn't like, what are you stopping me for? I'm just kind of like, yeah, you know, sort of confidence. And then I was able to identify myself in a way that we do that I'm not going to talk about on the show. And so he's like, all right, cool, no problem. And then he's like, you know, of course, the courtesy came like, hey, I'll drive behind you because I was falling asleep. And put his lights on and keep me up. But the bottom line is, you know, it's all in body language. And if you look at a lot of these videos, and I'm going to point this out too, and I hate to have to say this, but I think sometimes you have to remind people because we're bombarded with all these negative stories, especially about race. The people that typically are involved in these negative interactions are the worst of the worst. It's rarely ever hardworking minority people. It's most often criminals. And they're usually the ones that are going to do like Patrick Loyola and fight you and resist and all this extra stuff. And like everything that Dredd covered in the Loyola case, which he's documenting very, very well, and I'm enjoying watching his videos about this Loyola case, is exactly what bad guys do. And it's the exact opposite of what normal people do. And that's why we don't see this stuff happening every single day. You literally have to act the part to be treated the part, if that makes any sense to you guys.
And that's what concerns me about all this rhetoric, is that now people are resisting arrest over anything. Like they're fighting, like, because they're being taught that that's what they should do. It's literally encouraging people to do the exact thing that leads to this. That's what
doing that here.
Go ahead.
They're doing that here. I mean, let's not go ahead and cooperate. I want to see what happens. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. And you notice when he told the officer, I'm talking about the father, that I don't have my ID with me, he said it almost in a mocking tone. I don't know if that's just bad acting or if it was meant to be that way. But if he really did have his ID, maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and give it to the officer. You don't need to be doing this crap. But I think they're almost training people that let's do this kind of stuff. See what happens if you just refuse to give the officer your ID. Just not a smart thing to do.
Did you hear anything, Bernewski, before we go forward, since you haven't spoken for a bit?
No, I mean, I'm the one who got us to stop the video, but I agree with what you guys are saying, so I'm good.
Okay, no, we're good. And yeah, that's something I've been kind of coming to the conclusion about for a while. Is just to say that we're unfortunately literally encouraging the behavior that causes this problem. Like, it just became clear to me once. Part of it is that I used to work at a 24-hour gas station in my early 20s, and a lot of police officers would come in because there's nothing going on in our neighborhood, and they're bored. So I just sat and had conversations with them, and it became abundantly clear, if something bad is about to happen, they don't have very long to figure that out. It's in like less than a second sometimes that the situation goes from this is a standard traffic stop or whatever to now I'm being shot at. So if your reaction to the police officer is to be as belligerent as possible, you're like telegraphing to this police officer, oh, this guy is a problem, which immediately puts the police officer on the defensive, which immediately makes him more heightenedly aware that, okay, this guy's belligerent. I wonder what his problem is. And that's why whenever I go ahead, were you going to say something?
I think it's worse than belligerence here. This is evasive.
Oh, no, and I'm not saying it's what's going on here. I'm just speaking in general.
Yeah, because
it's
evasive is what the father's doing here.
We're teaching kids to mouth off to every cop they see, and if we're concerned about police brutality, this is definitely not the way to go about it. Now, in this video, it's just silly at this point. Like, I don't know. I guess the cop thinks it's funny that he's doing this or whatever. The other thing, it's a joke somebody made in the chat. Like, oh, look, it's Officer Kevin again, and and then now he's been transferred. He has terrible luck. He's already being nailed by another black cop for being racist. Didn't take long at all. He got transferred for what he did to that kid earlier. Is what it looks like as a continuation. So, before I go on, strategic is. Am I correct in the things that I just said about your disposition being a serious thing that's going to affect how a police encounter is going to go? I mean, I think it stands to reason, but I just want to make sure you're the cop.
Yeah, everything you said is correct. And just for your knowledge, guys, what they're doing, the technical term for it is called an integrity check. So like, I'm going to not let them know who I am. Like, internal affairs will do stuff like that. It's called integrity check. Let's see how he acts. Let's see if he acts professional. Let's see if we drop this wallet in his vicinity. Let's see if he'll keep the money or voucher for lost property or something, or found property. So he's doing an integrity check right now.
Got it. All right. Well, let's see where this goes next.
You there. I'm going to need you both to turn around. I'm placing you under arrest.
Under arrest? For what?
1, you're acting very suspiciously. 2, lying to a police officer. And 3, driving without a license.
Everything you just said is not true, and you know it. First, we're not acting suspiciously. I'm trying to teach my son how to drive. Second, no one lied to you. Third, the reason that my son does not have a driver's license or an ID is because I am trying to teach him how to drive. Besides, this is a private parking lot. This isn't a public road.
Do not make me repeat myself. Turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Hey, wait. Hold on. Just hold on.
Hey, where did you get this?
That is courtesy of the Mango Park Police Department, where I just happen to be the captain.
You're the captain?
Yes, I am Captain James Porter. I'm sorry. You must be the new transfer that came to our department, and we haven't had a chance to meet yet.
You're my captain?
Yes. Why do you keep saying that? I am your captain in the flesh.
Well, why didn't you say something to me when I pulled you over?
Because I told my son that it would be interesting to see what type of police officer that you were.
Look, I'm really sorry, Captain Porter. I don't know what to say.
That's okay. You don't have to say anything because I already know what I need to do.
What does that mean?
That means that as of today, you are fired.
Wait, what?
And I'm going to make sure that you never get a job with another police department in this county ever. No. So I want you to go to the station and I will meet you there in 1 hour.
Oh, this is bad.
This is so bad.
See, if Kevin didn't work for a right-to-work state, he'd have a union rep right now. He'd still have his job.
Furthermore, conducting human resource stuff in front of the kid. I mean, don't know if you can do that, right? That's supposed to be confidential, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, this would not fly as a sting. But we actually have. I can't speak for all departments. Like I said, in my department, we have a duty to. You have to identify yourself. When you get stopped, when you have any type of police interaction, the first thing out your mouth is, "Hey, I'm on a job. I'm a police officer. This is who I work for." You can't do what this captain did. And then you have labor rules. Like, you can't do that. That's entrapment. It's not professional. It'll never fly, and you can't fire somebody on the spot like that. It's crazy. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Right. Well, in addition to the fact that he set him up basically, and then now you're fired.
Oh yeah, one more thing, and then the pretense of your setup is by you breaking the law. You can't even train somebody in a private parking lot to drive without them first getting a learner's permit. That's national. It's not state by state. You have to have a learner's permit before you sit behind the wheel and operate a motor vehicle. So you and then the driver, the actual adult licensed driver, who's the captain, doesn't even have their ID on them. What kind of thing is this? This is crazy.
So there's a super chat question for you, Strategic. Can you detain someone without ID?
Absolutely, you can detain somebody. Well, listen, this is the thing. We're talking to the whole world right now. Some states do not have a duty to have ID on them. In New York State, you have to be able to be identified, especially if somebody's going to be issuing you a summons or something. But you got to understand, for you to stop the person in the first place, you have to have reasonable suspicion that they have committed or about to commit a crime. So if you have that suspicion and you've cleared those hurdles where now you can detain a person, which is like a level 3 stop, which is basically a Terry stop, then you can definitely detain them to ID them. So yeah, absolutely. But that's not national. There are some states that you do not need to have to carry identification on you. And therefore, just stopping somebody to ID them is against the rules there. That's against the rules anyway. You can't just stop somebody to ID them. But if you can reasonably articulate that they've done something wrong, then yes, part of that investigation is IDing the person.
That'd be your Terry stop, right?
Yeah, that'd be a level 3 stop, a Terry stop. But you can stop somebody and you can ask them accusatory questions, which is a common law right to inquiry, which is a level 2 stop. So, but you can't walk away from a Terry stop, which is a level 3 stop. You can walk away from a level 1 stop and a level 2 stop. If you run away from somebody at a level 2 stop, then it now raises to a level 3, and you can now detain the person. A lot of people don't know that. You just walk away. Just walk away, and then the police can't do anything to you. But if you run away, then yeah, it elevates it, and now we can chase after you, we can stop you and figure out why you're running away. You understand? It's complicated stuff. But the citizenry needs to be educated on how this stuff works. Nobody is educated truly on the law, or at least street law, which is what I call it, which is the most important law. Street law is a law that actually gets you in cuffs. So unfortunately, people aren't educated on that.
I get almost the feeling that they really don't want kids to be educated on this stuff.
Bernewski has to go. Thanks, Bernewski.
All right, take care.
Take care, guys. Good talking to you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thanks.
And I would agree with that. They don't want them to be educated on it. In fact, they want to educate them to mistrust the police as much as possible, be as belligerent to them as much as possible. It's then people like to grandstand, basically. That's where a lot of these videos are. It's like these kids get out their cell phone and they start trying to create an incident so that they can be the next one who, gets more brownie points for being harassed by a cop. I wish that wasn't the case, and it's not all of them by any stretch of the imagination, but I did a video earlier on race hoaxes and what the whole point of doing this Jussie Smollett stuff is, aside from just trying to push a narrative, it gets you a certain degree of woke credit, social credit, so to speak. If you can say, yeah, I too was victimized, So one of the points that somebody brought up was like, putting your kid at risk for a test or whatever. And one of the things that bothered me, and maybe Strategic, you could comment on this, but it was like, so he does exactly the thing. Before he's identified himself as a police officer, he starts yelling at the cop, raises his voice at the cop, consistently gets louder and louder and louder with the cop, sounds more and more irate, and then reaches for his pocket. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be a cop. You should know that's not a good idea. I mean, am I right to say like that's another reason there's just like there's something so unrealistic about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they wanted to make a point about police brutality so much that if they were to just take away the element of these folks being cops, it would actually be more realistic.
Right.
If they were just regular citizens acting the way that they're acting, like this guy raising his voice, not cooperating, being belligerent, it'd be more realistic than if it was cops. So it's kind of hard, breaking it down because it's just something that would never happen in real life.
Right.
What I would say is, what was the point I was going to make? It's late, so I mean, I'm going to hang out with you, but my brain is not functioning.
It's
spent
okay.
the whole day
Be
processing an arrest.
Because I'm also going to have to go to bed fairly soon, so don't worry about it. We're good for now, though.
All right. When I think about what I was going to say, I'll chime back in.
No problem. Did you have anything else, Johnny?
On this one, no, not really. I mean, he did not ask him for. I don't believe he asked him for his ID at that moment. So to reach for your pockets like that at that moment, I mean, I think that would have caused me to react a little bit.
Right. That's the reason for me is it breaks so many rules that are just basic common sense. And I don't think people really think about it from the perspective of the police officer in general. There's really not a lot of ways to handle this. How would I put this? So if the police officer, like I said earlier, they're coming from the perspective when they walk up to your car that their life may be in jeopardy because they have no idea who you are. They have no idea what you've done. They have no idea what you're doing. They don't know who, like what you may have done before, like, you pulled up. Could be any number of things that are playing through their head. And when you watch the videos of police shootings gone bad, meaning when the cop gets killed, again, it's split-second decisions. That's why that video that I talked to Strategic about when I went on his show is so poignant when they had this Black Lives Matter activist who I guess was a minister or something come take the police use of force test. And he got shot in one, and then in another one, he shot somebody he shouldn't have shot. And this is a guy who's talking endlessly about, how this whole situation is being abused, and he takes the test and he totally fails it. Do you remember that video, Strategic? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I wasn't paying attention. I was in the comment section. They were like, damn, Strategic, it's the second time you lost your point. And I'm like, I'm tired, man. I just finished processing an arrest all day. I've been working 6 a.m. So I'm losing my point. What was the video?
Do you remember the video of there was a video that was being circulated, and it actually ended up in a lot of pastors taking this test. But there was a black gentleman who was a pastor, and
yes. And then he shot the bad guy every time. Yeah, I think,
and he got shot too because he hesitated on one and he got shot.
And then the outcome is what we all know once you get the badge. Something I didn't know until I got the badge, which is that this is a life and death job. But I think what I've gotten is that people don't value police officers' lives. And I don't mean that in a negative way, if that makes any sense. Like, how could you not mean that in a negative way? They honestly believe that if you took the job, then you're willing to take the risk that the person should shoot you first. You hear that a lot in these comment sections, like, oh, well, yeah, it's a dangerous job and nobody told you to take it. So, you should be trained to be able to handle these situations as though you could ever train for the unpredictability of the humanity of people. That's just whether you work for an agency that makes you sign a contract or you work for an agency that makes you swear on the Constitution. There's nothing in your process of being hired. There's no paperwork that you sign that says that you're going to throw your life away. that you're going to allow somebody to shoot you first. That's just not how it works. And so I think that's the disconnect with people. They think that police officers should put themselves in so much danger that they're willing to wait that millisecond to see if that bad guy is actually going to pull the trigger of the gun that they're pointing at them. You know, if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
Absolutely.
And it's their attitude about it seems to be like, you have a right to resist arrest, and you know, the police officer has to bend over backwards and let you do whatever it takes. You know, they don't openly say you have a right to resist arrest, but they openly say, well, if they're going to fight you, just let them go. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. You know, like, that's the story about Jacob Blake in particular really enraged me, because they deified that guy, you know, and again, he was violating a restraining order that his rape victim had against him. You know, like, he wasn't a good person, you know, like, and if he's fighting, so we're just going to let him go in the car with someone else's kids in it. You know, like, no, you're not going to let him go. You know, if he, like, I ask people to try to put themselves in, like, you know, let's put themselves in their shoes. What if Jacob Blake's victim was their daughter, you know, or you know, or their girlfriend, for all we know? Like, it would be a very different attitude. You wouldn't be on board with just letting him go. You know, I don't know. There's so many unrealistic comments that get brought up by people who clearly, first of all, have never been in a fight, you know, like, who have really unrealistic ideas about what it's like to even just try to hold somebody down. You know, and unfortunately, some of those people are police. The hand-to-hand training for police is not sufficient. I wish it was. You know, but in addition to that, you know, so many of these people, like I said, they've never been in a violent encounter. They've never been in a violent stop. You know, like, to them, I think almost they think like, well, abolish the police means I don't get any more speeding tickets. You know, like, that's the naive group that Robert talked about. I told you about my friend who used to go to these things, and I asked him, what kind of people want to abolish the police? And he's like, well, two different types of people who are really naive about crime and career criminals. You know, like, those are the two groups of people, because the ones who are really naive about crime don't recognize that police are there to protect them, you know, and the ones who are actively involved in crime are thinking about how much easier their lives are going to be if you get cops out of the way, you know. So it's been a great stream, guys. Go ahead, Johnny. I was going to give you an opportunity to say something before we quit, for sure.
You're right. Even if you think that the police have signed some sort of contract to become suicidal, I don't think that their wives and kids have signed that contract. Right. And, you know, they have a right, you know, to live a life of happiness just as much as anybody else. The other one is that police officers are not cyborgs. They fall prey to all the psychological things that everybody does. And sentimental fire, mag dumps, all these things are psychological reactions that are inherent in human beings. And you can't train these things out of people. Not to say that I'm not making a claim about whether mag dumps or whatever are proper or not, but a lot of people will say, well, you know, if he's been trained so well, why is he doing that? Well, this is maybe the first time he's ever shot somebody. And guess what? When you do that, you don't know how you're going to react, and no training's going to make you know how you're going to react. And especially after the shooting, they say, well, why isn't he being real logical right now? Well, he just shot somebody. And you know what? Unless you've done it yourself, you don't know how you're going to react. And the cop is a human being just like the rest of us. And, you know, they're going to have all kinds of reactions to a shooting. You cannot predict it. It's high trauma. We all react to it differently.
So I want to thank both of you for coming on today. I was hoping to do what I want to do, and I think the two of you might actually be great for this. I want to do a stream at some point soon where we just sit there and watch police activity videos and then talk about them. Because something I really want to bring into consciousness, like one in particular I'd want to watch, although we can't sit there and watch the whole half hour, but that guy who passed out on a bus because he OD'd, giant black gentleman, really big black gentleman. And so they get paramedics, they give him Narcan to bring him back around, and they're desperately trying to convince him that he needs to get in the ambulance because he could still die, you know, and they kiss this guy's butt for 30 minutes. you know, and they keep suggesting, hey, can I search you? And they're so nice about it. And the guy will not let them search him. Eventually he pulls his pistol and he kills an innocent fireman.
Mhm.
Not a cop, a fireman. One of the
Yeah.
paramedics who was there to save
I
his
remember
life.
it. Mhm.
You know, that's how quick this crap goes bad. You know, it's there's no time to react. I think that's why I remember saying this. It's like not just an effort to defund the police, it's an effort to dehumanize the police. You know, and that's what we're looking at in these crazy videos, depicting police in these absurd ways. And again, I agree that, you know, like I totally, I'm glad that you came on, Strategic, because I wasn't sure what the hell these people were thinking. The fact that it's foreigners that think like this, you know, only in some ways it almost makes it worse that there are people out there that are under the impression that this is literally what it's like in the United States. And that's the power of disinformation.
Mhm.
So any parting words from you, Strategic?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to address something you said real quick, and then my parting words. I agree. I think what your friend said was very wise about the people who want to defund the police. They're either criminals or they're just very naive about exactly what's going to be defunded. If you look at the BLM founders, many of their relatives, I know Patrice Cullors talks about it a lot, and then the third member founder that we don't hear about her too much, I forgot her name.
Not Garza. There's one other one. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
like what like a Islamic type name, or
And they're all millionaires.
yeah, all of them, right? And she's quick to distance herself, like, you know, I had nothing to do with none of that stuff. and I will gladly offer myself up to help them right the ship of BLM. But anyway, the bottom line is all of them had relatives that were incarcerated. And that's why they have that big soft spot for criminals. You know, they were all the ones that were in the visit room every single weekend. And so they hate law enforcement and hold their loved ones to no accountability as to why they were incarcerated in the first place. Like, I've spoken to a lot of activists who, you know, like I being a black man, I like had a unique position that, you know, like a lot of black activists who scream at me, say horrible things to me. And then I pulled them to the side when it was possible. And I'd have that conversation with them, and they would open up to me, and 90% of them were ex-cons. The white kids were college students who just wanted to feel like they're on the right side of history.
Right.
And the hood minorities oftentimes were criminals. And it's not saying that all black people are criminals. Hell no, I would not. That's not the position I have.
Right.
It's because African Americans don't really care about the criminals, and they understand what they do to the community. So they're not out there marching. That's why when you look at it, you see a majority Caucasian and then quite a few black people. Those are the criminal black folks, the ones who are trying to, or the ones who are naive, the ones who are coddling these criminals. Regular folks in the hood are not going to come out and support this situation because they know that the police are the only ones that are protecting them from the tyranny of the Bloods and the Crips and all the other people who want to destroy the community. I see it every single day. I have these conversations every single day. I specifically patrol public housing projects. And every single day tell me, thank you, minorities, black folks, Latinos, thank you for being here. We feel safe because you're here. But you'll never see those people being advertised on the news. You'll never hear Joy Reid talking to them because it doesn't play into the narrative. Absolutely doesn't. I'm looking at that Patrick Leola stuff, nothing but Caucasian folks who have been trained to hate themselves in Grand Rapids marching for this guy. No other black folks is marching for them, especially if you're a black person that believe in you know, that this country has not been fair to you. Saying to yourself, God damn, you just came to this. I've been in this country all my life, and you just came to this country and you committing crime. This guy just came to America, and he's been stealing people's cars, beating up pregnant women, and breaking every single vehicle and traffic law possible, and driving drunk all times of the day and all times of the night. And people are out there actually saying justice for Patrick Leola. It's insanity. But anyway, when I get tired, I start rambling. And
I thought that was all good.
I ramble and I lose. That's why I don't do too late lives, because I like lose my train of thought and shit like that. So thank you so much for having me on. Once I saw you had Dread on and you guys were talking about these retarded videos, I had to jump on the stream. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And
would you be interested in doing that police activity watch party stream with us?
We've been talking about that for a while. Well, you've been saying that for a while, and I'm off Sundays and Mondays. So just let me know. I'm down with it.
Well, I'm not doing anything Sunday. You doing anything Sunday, Johnny?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's reach out to each other. I think well, that's right. For some reason, I can't send you a message on Twitter. Need to get you guys all. I know I can get a hold of Johnny I know I can get a hold of Strategic on Discord, and I know I can get a hold of Johnny on Twitter. So we'll try to look into Sunday. And if you guys are listening now, check us out on Sunday. We're gonna have a watch party where we watch police shootings.
Yes.
And I want to thank you, M. Kathy, for that $10 super sticker, the first super sticker in the history of V Radio.
Thanks. So, please make sure you check out the Strategic Eyes show, guys, man. We're trying to have a balanced and nuanced approach to these tough topics, man. You're not always going to agree with me.
Top notch. You guys, if you haven't, you can find it under my featured channels. You should go over there and subscribe right now if you haven't already.
Appreciate you, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for coming on. I can tell you're exhausted.
Take care, okay?
Yo, Dred, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Dred, for debating with me and having me on the stream with you guys.
I enjoyed that. We got to continue that at some point in the future.
Definitely, man. Sunday, Monday. Just let me know.
Right, take it easy.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right. And also, guys, if you haven't already, I think most of my listeners have already subscribed to Johnnie Walker Dred. But if you have not, you should go check him out. He does a lot of great content. His production value is also a lot better than mine when he's just talking, with that hat and the sound and the intro and all the fancy stuff that you do on your channel.
Yeah, my production values are like B level, but hey, I don't, like I say, this is a hobby. I never envisioned this thing to make money at all, so I don't pour a lot of resources into it.
Yep. Black Sheepdog in the house. Come kick it with us in the Strategic Eyes show. I would concur. Also got some love coming from Twitch. I saw a couple Twitch guys on here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know I haven't been doing much lately on Twitch. What I'm going to end up doing is that I make a lot of short form videos that are not appropriate to Twitch. And so what I'll literally do is what I'm probably going to do is like once a week, I'm going to do a stream, and I'll go ahead and put it on YouTube too, because I've also noticed that a lot of my YouTube viewers don't watch my short videos, but they watch my streams. So the only way to get them to watch my short videos is to play them. And then the Twitch guys, they don't even get to see any of that stuff unless I stream it. So, oh, wait a second. Oh, Alabastard says, hey, YouTube, unsubscribe me from Johnnie Walker Dred. Glad I checked. So that's why I tell you guys, make sure you follow us on social media. It's really the only way to be sure.
Because I'd lost like 2 subscribers over the last week or so. And I'm thinking, well, somebody got pissed off at me. Don't know who, but I guess YouTube's doing some crazy things. I got into an abortion debate. And I think that guy got mad at me and left. But yeah, it looks like there's been some action by YouTube, and I can't figure it out myself. I just motor on.
I think inevitably I'm going to have to wade into that abortion thing too, and I haven't.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Stay away from that topic.
Oh. Well, I mean, nobody's asked me to do it yet, so that's good. But I generally I went ahead and did the Amber Heard, Jada Pinkett Smith thing because people asked me to. Because I like to respond, I like to interact with my audience, and I do that. I have been doing that from the beginning, and even if I ever got 100,000 subscribers, I'm still going to do it. Obviously, the more I get, the more likely it is that I'll miss things. But that's why you should go to the website that you see at the top of my graphic, v-radio.us. You could subscribe to me there on multiple mediums. And because of the fact that my videos frequently get censored by YouTube, that's probably a good idea. You can follow me on BitChute, Odyssey. I'm also on Rumble. You can also follow me. I have a podcast version of my show, and I'm actually one of the, I guess they basically approved me for testing because Spotify, the same video program that they gave for Joe Rogan, they're now making it available to other people. So now you can also watch all my stuff on Spotify. And some of my stuff is just audio, in which case you'll find it in my on my podcast. The other thing you'll find at that website is all of my social media. I interact with you guys. If you add me on Facebook, I'll add you in friends for my activist account. You can join my Fans of V radio group, and there I post links to a lot of stuff that I'm researching. So if you ever kind of want to like an idea, like a peek inside the mind of V radio and what I might be doing a show about next, anytime I'm researching something and I'm grabbing links for it, that's where I throw them. Just be aware of the fact that sometimes I might throw a link in that group on Facebook just because it's interesting and it might be something I'm going to talk about. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an endorsement of whatever it is I linked. So yeah, and then obviously I've got Discord. I've also got Telegram channels. The Telegram isn't very chatty or anything, but it's just another way to be sure you actually get notified when I put out stuff. And I know Johnny's on Twitter. You should definitely follow him there.
I just got a question. I mean, is it worth my time? I actually have Rumble and Gab accounts, but I got those like a year ago, and like they got no action whatsoever, and I just kind of gave up on them. Is it worth it?
Well, here's what you could do. The reason I do it also is just for redundancy. I don't get a lot of Rumble action either, but I do get at least a few people. But what you could do, you can set it up so that YouTube will automatically, like Rumble will grab your videos and you won't even have to do anything. And then Odyssey will do the same thing. So you could just do that for the sake of redundancy. And it also means that even if something gets deleted here, it may not get deleted there. It usually doesn't. So, well, I mean, they won't delete it. But if it gets grabbed before Odyssey and Rumble pull it off, then yeah, you may have to re-upload it to one of those places. But it's helpful. And I mean, if it's not going to hurt anything, you may not get a lot of people there, but it's automatic. It's once you have it all set up, you don't have to do anything. It's just there's 2 other channels for you. They're free.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that to you next time.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm going to turn in myself. It is late, so
thanks a lot, man. It was great having you on.
Take care now.
Yep. All right, guys. So then there was one. Thanks for tuning into V Radio tonight, and we also simulcasted to Johnnie Walker Jed's stream. I really appreciate you guys, man. The super chats and the super stickers. That was really great. I really appreciate that stuff, guys. Things are pretty tough right now. So I actually just had to go take my damn car in again. Thankfully, this time it didn't cost a freaking $1,000 to fix it, but it was still money I didn't want to spend. So, but if I can keep making money like that, it'll be fine. And, like I said, my goal is just to be whole. And I didn't make a lot of money before this started. I'm just a restaurant worker. So I don't want to make a lot of money. But if you guys are that interested and, you're pushed that far, by all means, we'll do it. And again, for my Twitchers, I will be doing streams that are just going to be videos that I've already made that you guys haven't been exposed to if you don't follow me here on YouTube, because they're just short form videos. In some cases, they're 5-15 minutes long. And I could do a whole stream of just playing them if you guys haven't seen any of them. And that's what I was doing before. And, so we'll take it from there. Good job, Black Sheepdog. You'll like Johnny's channel for sure. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in tonight, guys. I will be doing more content. One of the other things that was a problem was I think I may have some post-COVID cognitive issues because my memory turns to Swiss cheese sometimes in ways. I mean, it was always kind of a problem, but now it's really bad. So if I'm feeling like that, I'm not going to stream because I'll just babble and I'll sound like an idiot. You guys have come to expect a certain degree of, intellectual quality from me that I want to maintain. So, and again, if for some reason anything does ever happen to me, please share the hell out of my stuff. That's my legacy, to try to share this important information with the world. Check out my Do You Think for Yourself series if you have not already. It's probably one of the most important things I've done. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Check me out on my website. Have a good night.